Erika, one of the most alarming things about Charlie's murder was the way that some people in this country reacted to it.
Yeah.
And not just online. This was an idea that you encountered a lot. And the idea was this: they kind of justified it. They basically said that because Charlie said or believed things that they believed were controversial or even hateful, that he somehow had it coming. What do you say to people who justified his death?
You're sick. He's a human being. You think he deserved that? Tell that to my 3-year-old daughter. Excuse me. You want to watch in high res the video of my husband being murdered and laugh and say he deserves it? There's something very sick in your soul, and I pray that God saves you. I pray, because that is what is so wrong. The internet in this world has dehumanized us.
In the 3 months since Charlie Kirk was murdered, I've really tried not to comment on the murder investigation in public, and it's not because I don't care, of course. I love Charlie and knew him well since he was a teenager. But I haven't said anything about it. I really tried not to say anything about it. First, because I don't really know anything that everyone else doesn't know. I've asked around, but of course, how do you know what the truth is? But the other reason I haven't said anything is because I know personally a number of the people involved in what's now become a very large story. I know them really well. And I really think a lot of all of them on every side. Candace Owens, I've known a long time. I love Candace Owens. Blake Neff at TPUSA once worked for me at a couple of different places, and I love Blake Neff. Erika KIRK, I've known since she was dating Charlie Kirk, and I love Erika KIRK. And I think these are all really, really decent people. And so it's been my desire for 3 months not to get involved in any of this. And in general, to think to myself, anybody who is earnestly searching for the truth, whether they're right or wrong, but as long as they're motivated by a desire to find out what happened and therefore honor Charlie's memory by getting to justice, anyone who's doing that, I'm not going to criticize. Again, no matter what track they're on, lots of us, and this has certainly happened to me, have good moments, but good motives, but wind up in the wrong place. But it's a sincere mistake. So that definitely happens. I have done that, and so I've just wanted to stay out. And then the other day, I had like a 3-hour conversation with Theo Vaughn, and it was not about Charlie Kirk or anything related to it, but that topic came up. And I said, in effect, I don't trust the FBI. And that gave some people the impression that I was, accusing them of being involved in Charlie's assassination. And of course I wasn't. And I certainly didn't mean to. But it gives me the chance now to say what I think, which is that we should not necessarily trust the FBI. And by the way, why would we? It's not an attack on, the political leadership of it. I've known Dan Bongino, for example, for a long time, and like Dan, and don't imagine he would ever be involved in intentionally covering up a murder of somebody. I don't believe that. But Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, for that matter, are at the top of the org chart, but this is a huge organization, and parts of it act independently from leadership. That's the nature of bureaucracy. So saying, well, I like Dan Bongino and don't think he would do something wrong on purpose, which is how I feel, doesn't mean that I trust the FBI or have to trust the FBI. And again, why would I? If there's one lesson of the last election, the 2024 election, it's that a lot of our biggest systems, our biggest institutions have rot in them, and that needs to be reformed. And as if we needed more proof of it, we'd learned what a lot of us suspected for years, that January 6th was in effect a setup, and the FBI was key to that setup. And it's still not clear that everyone involved in that setup at the FBI has been fired or punished for that. So no person, no American is under some moral obligation to believe everything the government tells you, particularly institutions or agencies that have a long documented, factually documented track record of committing crimes, participating illegally in our political system, for example, as the FBI has done, manufacturing crimes, setting people up, distorting justice. That's the opposite of their job, of course, which is to get to justice through facts and then to tell the rest of us how they arrived at this conclusion, to prove to the rest of us that the right people are being punished. So we're not under any obligation. Of course, we shouldn't invent theories to discredit the FBI, but it's not enough to have government officials tell us, well, this is the truth. We have a right, probably an obligation, to say, well, can you prove it? And if you can't, I don't have to believe you. So if there's one thing that bothers me above all about the investigation into Charlie Kirk, is that is getting lost. As people argue over what happened, we are potentially letting our largest federal law enforcement agency off the hook. It is the job of the FBI to find out what happened and to tell the rest of us, not hide behind, well, it's national security, confidential sources. No, tell us what happened. Show us what happened. Convince us what happened. That's your job. And we shouldn't accept anything less. And by the way, when we do accept something less, then, new explanations fill the vacuum left by the FBI, which we pay to explain to us what happened. And so I'm going to really do my best not to talk about things I don't understand, state things as though I know them when I don't know them. I'm going to do my best to stay out of it because I love Charlie and I want justice to be done in this case. But the rest of us should remain skeptical. We have a duty to remain skeptical, and we should not be ashamed of our skepticism. Thanks.
With Erika KIRK sharing her journey with America and the world, we are grateful at Fox to have her here to shine a light on healing as we all miss and mourn the loss of her beloved Charlie Kirk. And not all of her journey has been without, hate, conspiracies, and oddly, speculation about where her husband is buried. Now, for the first time, Erika, who's with me now, addresses all of it from the perspective of a grieving widow, a mom, and a battle-tested American. Good to see you again today. Talk to me about this part of the conspiracies that are out there, this disturbing part that people are trying to guess where Charlie is.
Can I have one thing? Can I have one thing? Can my children have one thing? Everything was public. We will be building the most beautiful memorial for my husband at Turning Point USA, and it will be for the world to see, and it will be spectacular, and it will have basically museum style for our Charlie, for my Charlie. But can I have one thing? Can my babies have one thing where we hold it sacred, where my husband is laid to rest, where I don't have to be worried about some secular revolutionary coming and destroying my husband's grave while my daughter is sitting there praying? One thing, that this is my husband. Yes, he was Charlie Kirk to the world, and I know so many people love my husband, and I am grateful for that, but this is my husband, and I want to be able to have one thing left that is sacred to our family, to my in-laws, to my babies, and to my parents. One thing.
What are they taking from you right now?
Nothing. But I will tell you what they are doing. It reminds me so much of chapter 6 in the book of Nehemiah. He is building a wall, and the townspeople are at the base of that hill saying, Nehemiah, calling him all these names, saying all these things, come on down. Every single time he had the same message 4 times in a row. I cannot come down. I am busy building. That is how I feel. I do not have time to address the noise. My silence does not mean that I am complacent. My silence does not mean that somehow Turning Point USA and all of the handpicked staff that loved my husband and my husband loved them is somehow in on it. We are busy building. And you know what I thought? I thought these people are human. We are all grieving in our own way. And they are trying to find the answer to something that happened that was so evil. They are trying so hard. And I get that. We're doing the same. Anytime we hear a lead or anytime we hear anything, we send it to the authorities. Please dig into this. No rock will be unturned. I want justice for my husband, for myself, for my family, more than anyone else out there. So for me, you want to keep telling me to come down while we're building? I don't have time for that. But here's my breaking point on that. Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
You know, I have to say it. I've never seen you like this.
No, this is righteous anger because this is not okay. It's not healthy. This is a mind virus. Yes, I believe in our judicial system. I do. We have a hell of a team working on this, excuse my French. But this is not okay.
So you want to put these people back in the box where they've been creeping from?
I don't care what box you're in. But just know that your words are very powerful and we are human. My team are not machines and they're not robots. They are human. We have more death threats on our team and our side than I have ever seen. I have kidnapping threats. I have, you name it, we have it. And my poor team is exhausted. And every time they bring this back up, what are we supposed to do? Relive that trauma all over again? They watched my husband get murdered. I have no idea how I would have reacted if I was there that day. And thank the good Lord that I did not have to see that happen. But my team, they are rocked to the core. So why every single day do they have to be dragged through the mud, analyzed, hyper-analyzed?
You know, the conspiracies that are out there, all of the like, do you think that there is more of it now because you do shine your light? I mean, did people just expect you would just go away?
I don't know what they expected. I don't know what they expected.
They pick on you because of your accessories. I mean, I've seen some of it.
Oh, yeah. No, at this point, it's what, the conspiracy collection. Get it before Christmas. Like, seriously. Wow. If you want to find and pick me apart, go right ahead. I do not care. I don't. This was happening before Charlie was murdered. Both of us have been through the ringer of people will call you whatever they want to call you. They will. But I have seen it firsthand impact the people that I love, and I'm done. I'm done. And if people think that I was just going to wilt away, I'm not going to sit in a corner and cry and be in fetal position. This is a duty to my husband, and it's an absolute honor, and I will never back down. And so my message to them is to stop. To stop.
And that's what we will say here on Outnumbered 2. God bless you. Hold up your book.
Stop in the name of God.
Amen.
Just like you, restructure their loans and save money every month, all without any upfront fees. Their customers save an average of $800 a month, which is like a $10,000 a year raise without having to change jobs. So call American Financing today. The number is 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net/Owens. AmericanFinancing.net/Owens. You guys, Candace 19 is crazy, okay? I'm worried. You trust the influencers, you know. People over in the chat say we need some Candace 19 merch. Yeah. Don't go Max, get the Vax. That's what Mark is saying. We should we're gonna get some gear for you guys. Don't go Max, get the Vax. That's the vibe right now. How many influencers is it going to take to get everyone to roll up their sleeves and not go Max? That's where we're at right now. How many people do you have to send out to tell them? Please do it. Wild, okay? I didn't get the vax. I didn't get the COVID-19 vax. And I'm not getting whatever the heck this is, okay? Which is honestly, on its face, federal stupidity is what it is. Now, I can also tell you that because my mommy sleuths, they're so fast before stuff even ends. I get tips about things. And Erika literally today sat down with Bari Weiss. It's been marketed all over. They're going to have this big sit down, a conversation moderated by Bari. It's going to feature voices from across the political spectrum. They're going to talk about grief. And I got this email after, and it's interesting. I got actually a couple of emails, but I'm going to read this one to you because it was a town hall-ish event. Here's what they said went down. This person writes, I just came from the CBS. By the way, whoever wrote this email, I love you. I just love all of the mommy sleuths that are this quick. They wrote, I just came from the CBS Times Erika KIRK town hall, and this is what she said about the conspiracies and Candace. 1, Erika said she was pregnant when the Egyptian planes were flying and following her, so she wasn't on them. She said she has photo proof. Huh? I'm sorry. Did I ever accuse Erika of being on Egyptian planes? When I found the Egyptian planes, I was concerned that they were following Charlie because I thought, wow, has there been a foreign government that has been tracking his events? Like maybe, I don't know, like running through the operation early, and then we broadened it when someone clued us into the fact that actually these planes have been following Erika. You just heard Tucker Carlson confirm that. I thought she'd be concerned. Instead, she's gonna tell us on Saturday that she wasn't on the planes. I never said you were on the planes. Why would I think you were on the Egyptian planes? I don't think that you took off and went to Wilmington, Delaware. I know you didn't go to Wilmington, Delaware on the day of Charlie Kirk's assassination. I find that answer to be lacking, okay? That is weird to me. It's a weird answer to give. And by the way, you can fly when you're pregnant. Even if you were on the Egyptian plane, that's a possibility when you're pregnant. So I don't understand that part at all. 2, when Bari asked her about the conspiracies and what she had to say to those saying them, Erika said, stop. No. 3, not about Candace, but she talked about Israel and said good things about Jews and how TPUSA is having Shabbat dinner. No, I didn't read that before we went live at AmFest. Okay. Okay. You guys, I want you to know, in addition to the fact that Charlie, in the last couple of days, wanted people to know that Mikey is fantastic and supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and he had this whole vision, and that Rob McCoy was his favorite pastor, and that you should buy Josh Hammer's book. He also wants you to know to just be a Jew. I think we get it. We get it. Those were his last words. Okay? We get it. Just like, okay. Anyways, moving on from that. I want to say to the 39 bajillion of you who are in the military who emailed us to let me know that I misspoke yesterday. Okay, I even said to you ahead of time, I said, I don't know military vernacular. I don't know these terms. It's like another language, and you guys are not aware of yourselves. Okay, so you critiqued me for saying E4, E3 when I should have said 06. I'm jotting down these notes. I'm having a conversation. I'm trying to fact check things. And for me, I was focusing on the timeline of where he was. I was like getting all of the proof from our military guy who was there for this meeting on September 9th and it's also on September 8th as well. And I misspeak, okay? Because you guys basically speak Japanese. You don't realize you do, but you do. You speak Japanese. And I said E4, E3, and I went back and I checked my notes, and actually he said 06s. Thank you. Thank you for your 26 billion emails to let me know that I don't know ish about the military, okay? It was a human error. I made it very clear that I am ignorant when it comes to military. I will own that. And so please just be nice to me sometimes, where it's a lot of information, a lot of researching. And I just wanted to confirm he said he was where he said he was and take those notes. But no, he did not. He was very clear. I checked the notes that he had said 06. I think I made the mistake when I transferred my notes because he said colonels or captains. Then I Googled it and then I edited it thinking that maybe I heard him wrong. It was over a 1-hour phone call. Anyways, regarding him, for those of you guys that emailed us, I told you, you can trust that we are not just taking a thumbs up from someone. There's a lot of research that goes into all of these things, and we were able to confirm everything he said was real. He gave us his card that he swiped onto the base, and now, because you guys sent so many emails, and actually people who were on that base in Arizona, the Huachuca base in Arizona. Adding further credence to his claim is we've been able to since verify 2 more things from other people that are currently stationed there. First and foremost, I should tell you, we have a positive ID on Captain Neff. He was not sure what Captain Neff's first name was. It was, in fact, Adam Neff, and I'm sure captains have different names, but Adam Neff of the 10th Mountain Division is the individual. I sent picture options to him as your emails were coming in, and then someone said Adam Neff. I sent it, and he confirmed that that is the correct person. There were several, obviously, but Adam Neff was leading the interrogation of him. And it checks out because that is the division from New York. Also, we have now confirmed, and this is exciting because we got a lot of emails going, oh, like if this was really this like meeting, people wouldn't have known it was taking place. They would have used a empty building or something like that. Well, guess what? We have confirmed from people currently stationed on the base that JTF is indeed using a building. I'm not going to name the building. I know the exact one because I don't want to, accidentally violate national security. But effectively, they are borrowing a building. So it's effectively unmarked in that sense. And that building has been turned into, please forgive me if I get this wrong, but I'm reading it direct from the email, SCIF, which stands for a sensitive compartmented information facility, okay? So they have since added barbed wire around that facility for additional security. Cell phones and other electronics are not allowed. This is where he saw the meeting, by the way, unless they are government issued. They are not allowed in that building. And it requires top clearance to be granted access into that building. Again, we have now verified this outside of this individual who was definitively telling the truth. He sent me so much documentation that it was like, I could have showed you everything. His old passport, his new passport, his military ID card, hotels, it's books, times, text messages, phone call logs with his wife. It just really is a circumstance that this man has either the worst or the best luck ever when it comes to him sort of stumbling upon military operations, right? First, he finds this cartel tunnel when he's 20. Now we fast forward, he's 56, and he just was getting some coffee, and someone's like, here, actually, yeah, no, that's the old boys are getting back together in this unmarked building, and he stumbles in there. It also, by the way, does provide an explanation for why they panicked when he just walked in there, because they were like, he should not have known that this building was here. They didn't buy his excuse. It's 7 hours later, they allowed him to leave, or Captain Neff allowed him to leave. Now, we can also give you some more information that gets really interesting, okay? Remember, Harry, who told me that seeing that many, I hope it's 06. Is it 06? Do not email me, okay? He said it is not common unless, and he specifically said, there was some high-ranking congressional member or someone close to the president, like the vice president. Well, we received another tip that makes things especially compelling. So I'm going to just read you this email in its entirety. We have fact-checked it. It is true. Trust us to fact-check stuff, by the way, guys. We would not just randomly be like, thumbs up. We're just going to go with that. This person writes, I just wanted to bring to your attention that on September 8th, that's when he says that he saw some funny business, 2025, a U.S. government plane, a special air mission plane, caught my eye. This is what I found about that particular plane that is based out of Andrews Air Force Base, shown as Camp Springs below. U.S. Air Force C-37A Gulfstream Gulfstream 5 is a VIP jet. Part of a unit that caters to senior members of the executive branch and Congress. Plane number is 99-0404, as you'll see on the screenshot below. On September 7th, the plane flew from Andrews to Colorado Springs. On September 8th, it flew from Colorado Springs to Tucson. Then, 5 hours later, from Tucson, and then the transponder appears to be turned off. However, at 12:31 p.m. on September 9th, it flies from Fort Huachuca to El Paso, and then El Paso back to St. Andrews. Now, why is that interesting? Okay, because that means the timeline that he gave us is exactly right. This meeting took place early in the morning. I think it was 7:37 where all this happened. And then he assumed it was like a high ranking congressional person or somebody that potentially could be in the cabinet. This guy is saying that's what that plane is used for. And he also brings in El Paso. Remember, El Paso, Texas is where all those weird flights were coming from on the day of Charlie Kirk's assassination. So that is extremely compelling. And like I said, having spoken to this individual who is planning to come out and do podcasts and speak about that, he's trying to figure it out, which I'm going to help him with this weekend to figure out whose show he can go on and speak more. It's lining up. Like this is actually tracking. I had a sense when I spoke to him that his memory could be trusted. Okay. He was very forthright. He was very honest. I mean, he was so honest that he was like, when I said, oh, is it maybe this, Captain Neff? He was like, ma'am, like I don't want to give you any information that's wrong. I would put that at about maybe 60 to 65% that it could be this person, until I gave him the correct Neff. And he was like 100%, that's the guy that questioned me. So I trust him. And by the way, his heart exploded when I told him about all the emails of people that were in the military currently that were very moved by his story, people who have had the experience of doing the right thing in the military and being treated as though they did something wrong for doing their job and serving the American people. Everybody knows there's corruption everywhere, especially at the top. And to all the service members that sent those emails, I want you to know that he said he was close to tears, and he was just on his knees, him and his wife, just thanking God, because they never thought their story was ever going to come out about what happened to him when he was 20. And that is just something that is really, that's why I said there's so much God in this, because like he either has the best or worst luck, but he just happens to be in the wrong place at the right time, maybe in the right place at the wrong time. Who knows? History will tell us. Continuing the rest of that email from the person who gave us that tip about this plane, he concludes it by saying, this is the only time that I have noticed that this plane was in Fort Huachuca. If your contact that you mentioned yesterday saw this group of men in the morning, it could line up well with what this aircraft leaving at 11:43 a.m. on the 9th. From other searches I've done, it appears that Pam Bondi flew on this plane approximately 5 months ago from Tampa area back to D.C. I am looking into other flights. Please be safe and God bless. Guys, we have a clue. And we should keep going with that. I don't know. I when he contacted me, it was the way I told you. It went about me praying and then suddenly I get this email and I speak to him and he's like so credible and just gives everything. I think we need to keep prodding this narrative of what happened and what he said that he saw. And he described it as a meeting that when the operation is being finalized, a finalization meeting, and he seems like he knows what he's speaking about. So that's what I have for you guys today. Oh, wait, there's also something else about that plane. I got to bring in Mark to mansplain it. I'll just bring you on, Mark. I'm not even going to tee you up there. Just come on.
Thank you. Great introduction. So I was looking at the logs for that flight, and the flights in question are towards the center of the screen. You can see it goes from Tucson, the transponder goes dark. That's what that dash means there. But what really stood out to me were the call signs, which are basically the fourth column from the left. So you can see it's using RCH, which is reach. That's a standard Air Force call sign designator. But when someone important is on the plane, it switches their call sign to SAM, which stands, as you said, for Special Air Mission, which is typically reserved for people like the vice president, cabinet secretaries, senior officials of the executive branch, congressional delegations, and other senior political leaders. So what that tells me is the call sign from Tucson to Fort Huachuca is a standard reach. Everything before that is as well. But once it gets to Fort Huachuca and takes off, it switches to SAM. So that tells me they picked up someone of that stature in Fort Huachuca. And then just to avoid confusion, the Venus call sign is just when the plane is empty, doesn't have anyone on it.
It's actually very, very helpful. And I think, like I said, there's something here. There is definitely something here. And I do believe that God put that man again. He has the worst luck. Our guy, Harry, has the worst luck down, or the best luck down in Fort Huachuca. But I'm certainly glad he was there. So you'll definitely be hearing from him directly. I would assume next week I'm going to help him figure things out. He's like, I don't know how to work these podcasts and, computers and how to get my message out there, we will definitely assist. We'll take a brief break and come back after some sponsors. All right, you guys, want to tell you about Pure Talk because as a consumer, you carry the success or the failure of businesses in the palm of your hand. Their success depends on your decision to spend money with them or their competitor. Well, my friends at Pure Talk would like to say thank you from the bottom of their hearts for choosing Pure Talk for your wireless needs. Because of you, they had a record-breaking year. Because of your generosity through their Roundup for Charity program, they've been able to donate over $500,000 to America's Warrior Partnership, who stands on the front lines preventing veteran suicide. Your patronage has allowed Pure Talk to donate 1,000 hand-sewn Made in America flags to your fellow veterans. And when you choose Pure Talk as your wireless provider, you choose to support American jobs. Like I said, as a consumer, you have the power to make or break companies. And with the money the big wireless guys throw around on advertising, you are inundated with offers everywhere you look. So from everyone in the Pure Talk family, thank you for your trust and God bless America. I also want to tell you guys about Purge Store because they tell you to fear the outside world, but the real danger can actually be happening inside your gut. I'm talking about parasites. These parasites can come in many different forms, microscopic parasites, there's fungus, worms. This isn't just a third world problem. You can contract parasites from your cats, dogs, from riding in an RV, or even from eating sushi. Right now, an estimated 4 billion people, more than half the planet, are unwilling hosts to parasites. 60 million Americans alone are suffering from parasites. Parasites suppress immunity. They cause some cancers, trigger autoimmune responses, and release toxins that fog your mind and drain your energy. So if you struggle with losing weight or you suffer from crippling fatigue, anxiety, brain fog, an uncontrollable sweet tooth, or chronic digestive issues, you more than likely could be suffering from a parasite. PurgeStore.com offers an organic yet potent all-natural formula that targets and kills parasites and aggressively flushes them from your system. Purge is not a synthetic drug. It is an herbal remedy that is safe yet powerful, and it can be taken daily to prevent future parasitic invasions. Right now, you can save 15% off at PurgeStore.com if you use promo code Candace at checkout. Purge Store will also gift you a free colon cleanse with a Purge subscription to help you dislodge and flush everything out of your system. That's promo code Candace at PurgeStore.com. Turning Point Faith, man, I love that it is so faithful. And, we're always talking about biblical characters, but nobody want to address Jesus. Remember, he was betrayed. The story might be relevant. We're going to be out here acting like it's a conspiracy. Yeah, it was a conspiracy when Judas betrayed him. And it was for money. Like, that might be a relevant narrative when you're out here, like, trying to make it seem like it's never happened in the history of the world. It has happened. And, yeah, I don't know. He was denied. He was denied, just as he said. So I want to just be clear that it is, of course, plausible. It is very plausible, is more than plausible, that when a company grows that size, there are people that become motivated by things that are not just truth and justice and things that feel sparkly and sprinkly and like make you feel good on the inside. Okay. The reality is life is ugly. Okay. Many people have to deal with deceit and dishonesty the bigger they get. And we heard that from Charlie's own mouth, what he was going through. Okay. I wouldn't have guessed his last words were effectively as if we're all getting the vibes here, like, just like go be a Jew. But I don't know. I feel like he was under pressure actually from a lot of his Jewish quote unquote friends. And there hasn't even been any honesty provided from Turning Point USA in that regard. It's like we're getting no honesty at all. And I'm wondering why, because this feels like a very poorly run PR show. Anyways, you guys, if you would like to support our independent work, you can head to CandaceOwens.com and buy some merch. I promise you we will get you Candace 19 merch because that's amazing, actually. That's what's happening. Okay, we're right back there. And we will tell you not to go max and to instead get the vax. And hopefully you will listen to us because we are the government and we can always be trusted. We are the government. We can always be trusted here at CandaceOwens.com. You guys can also purchase my book, which we're going to get into a little bit more about tomorrow. The backstory of feminism is so much darker than most people understand. MakeHimASandwich.com if you'd like to buy it from us directly. You can also head to Amazon now, throw it in your cart. And we are now also shipping to Canada. MakeHimASandwich.com. Okay, let's get to some of your comments before the influencers come out and tell you it's evil after that Fox News hit for us to say, actually, I still have questions. They do. The top comment from yesterday is they want us to believe that Charlie's neck was made of steel and the Twin Towers were made of neck bones. Got it. Yeah, we're at that stage of a psychological operation. That's it. None of it's making sense. That is so well put. It is upside down land. Laughing Cats Music World writes, and thank you, by the way, that's a massive donation. Vital to separate flaws from race. We can criticize corrupt Jews without blanket anti-Semitism. Critiquing George Floyd because he died of fentanyl in the hospital isn't hating Black people. Stop equating criticism of Israel, Soros, etc., with Jew-hating or self-hating. If you're Jewish and critical of all governments, including Israel, most people are not racist. And then this person is making the joke, maybe Blake Neff. I didn't look into the Blake Neff thing or why he left Fox News because I'm just more interested in his military connections because that caught me by surprise. But you are absolutely on the money. Obviously, we can criticize people and this sort of cheap tactic of being like, oh, well, it's kind of the same thing we're talking about. It's emotional manipulation. It's like, whoa, what are you saying? And it's like, no, there is corruption everywhere. And you are not removed from corruption because of who you work for, what you look like, what sex you are. It is always plausible and actually highly plausible, typically when money is involved. Lulu Mallory writes, the more I watch, the more fake and gay things are. We all have been given the light of Christ to discern truth from lies. Candace speaks truth. Go Max, Candace. Charlie deserves nothing less. You are correct. And I don't trust the feds. And I don't believe that is a sufficient enough answer that, well, we're telling the feds to do that. Well, I can tell you the feds are not doing that because I was the one who said I had the information about the French Foreign Legion being on the ground the day that Charlie was assassinated, and the feds have not reached out to me. So shouldn't that concern Erika? Shouldn't she be like, hey, why didn't you reach out to me and say, like, you know, hey, I'd like that information if no one's reached out to you? Like, why is that not happening? This is what I mean when I say that the reaction doesn't feel to the public as what we, and yeah, I'm generalizing here because there is such a thing as a general response, what we would do in the same circumstance. Like, we would be like, whoa, even if I trusted the feds and I trusted my legal team and trusted their analysis that there was just one person involved, as soon as some podcaster was like, hey, I found Egyptian planes and they're being kind of shady, I would be like, whoa, that is weird. What's up with these Egyptian planes? They're just making jokes. That there's something not right with that. Like making jokes about something that if you should be concerned at the very least about, even if it turned out that it led nowhere, which it has not turned out that it led nowhere. It actually led somewhere and it's been confirmed. Why are you not concerned? I just need an answer for why they are never concerned. Meryl Gerstenmeyer writes, it seems to me Erika's moral outrage is manufactured more for an elite target audience as opposed to those normal folks who want to solve the actual murder. It does feel, I would say it feels elite. I don't have time for the little people, okay? I don't have time for, you small pocket donors. I got time, but like it's going to be spent with power. It's going to be spent in the West Wing. It's going to be spent raising $40 million at Mar-a-Lago. When we say building, what we mean is like a financial arsenal. And it's easier to appease people who are billionaires than to build a grassroots movement. That's what Turning Point USA was. It's not anymore, clearly, but it was a grassroots organization. That was the pitch. That was why I worked for them. The idea that you could get on the ground when nobody knew us, nobody knew me and Charlie, and we could get on stage and we could convince people of what we believed in, okay? Every conversation mattered. In those times, every debate mattered. Every feeling that a person had, even if it was valid or not valid, it mattered. And now we get the sense that this is the RNC. So if you ain't spending for a table, you ain't getting a response, okay? Because we busy. We very busy. H. Biz writes, who was the woman in the pickup truck? I don't know who the woman was in the pickup truck, but you're referring to what Harry, Harry thinks he has an idea and he should come out and he should share his story. I would be interested to see if he is, like I said, I can tell you he was factually there, that the meeting happened now exactly as he said it happened at exactly what time he says it happened. I cannot confirm his own eyes. I can't confirm his memory of who he believes he saw. We can't confirm it was Brian Harpole. We can't, was it a Brian Harpole lookalike? Do a lot of military men look the same? He is certain he saw Brian Harpole. Give him time to come out and tell his story. Servant of Yahweh writes, who was the young woman in the Candlewood Suites Hotel with the special ops guy? They left in the green truck on September 8th. If you or anyone you know works at that hotel and has that security footage, please get it to Candace before it gets deleted. I would imagine if he is right, that footage is deleted. But that would still be a clue if it was deleted. So yeah, if you work for the Candlewood Suites Hotel at the military base, could you check that footage, please, for us on September 8th? More tips at CandaceOwens.com is who you can send that tip to. What you doing staying at the Candlewood Suites Hotel? Sorry, that's an old hip hop song. I'm out of control. I'm sorry, guys. This is a new strand of Candace 19, and it's resistant. It is absolutely resistant, even to the vax. So anyways, you guys, we're going to keep going, Max, and I am going to keep on this, see what comes of this, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Let me hit some other items that are in the news around the FBI. I'll start with the one that's probably most important to our audience, and that's the Charlie Kirk investigation, Cash. Obviously, this audience includes huge fans of Charlie's. He came on the show once every 3 weeks for years. And so we're all watching that one very carefully. Let me start with this, the most obvious. Do you believe that we have the proper suspect in custody? Do you believe that Tyler Robinson is, in fact, the man who killed Charlie Kirk?
Yes.
Do you believe he acted with the help of anyone else?
This investigation is being led by the Utah state authorities because it is a murder investigation. So the FBI is a supporting role in the investigative process. And so what we're doing is the same thing we did in the pipe bomb investigation. The investigation is ongoing for us. If there's any new leads or tips, we are exhausting them with search warrants and legal process. But at the same time, we are working with the prosecutors in Utah to make sure we don't screw up their investigation. Because again, the worst outcome would be if the guy that killed Charlie Kirk walks out of a United States courtroom in the state of Utah. And so it's a delicate balance again, but there is no way this FBI is going to stop that investigation until it reaches its all-conclusive endpoint.
Do you believe any foreign government had a role in his assassination?
At this time, the FBI doesn't have credible information to connect any foreign governments to it. But as I said, we are continuing to take investigative leads. We're not done. Just because we arrest someone, just like in the pipe bomber case, we don't just say, okay, we're done, on to the next. The investigative team continues to work with the Utah authorities, and they're deriving their own leads and coming back to us and say, hey, can you look at this piece of information? Can we get a search warrant on this account? What about this individual who is located in X, Y, or Z? We're tracking all that down.
Do you have any credible reason to believe that anyone connected with the Turning Point organization had anything to do with Charlie's death?
Zero.
On the subject, there's been an allegation made by prominent podcaster Candace Owens that she's received a death threat, a credible death threat from the French, that a threat has been made on her life, and that the French, she's been told, also may have had a role in Charlie's assassination. Have you looked into either of those? Do you believe she's received a credible death threat from the French, or that the French had something potentially to do with Charlie's death?
Any American that receives a death threat from overseas or anywhere in America is going to be fully investigated. So we're not going to turn our eye away from that investigation or any others. If there's anything to it, this FBI will respond to it.
Okay, but so far, no.
So we are just looking at everything that comes in. We're not going to reject any piece of information. If someone feels that their life is being threatened, we are, of course, looking at it.
I can verify that myself because we've received some very dark things here at our show, and you guys have always been very responsive in looking hard at the people who send them. Can I ask you, Cash, the text messages between Tyler Robinson and his roommate Lance Twiggs, the reason a lot of people think Tyler didn't do it is because they sound kind of fake. You know, the wording just sounds a little strange. Like, I thought they caught the person, or no, you weren't the one who did it, right? I am. I'm sorry. They go on from there. Why did I do it? Yeah, I had enough of his hatred, and so on. Do you have any reason to believe that text exchange was not real between them for whatever reason, potentially even having been orchestrated between the two of them?
Look, I understand the emotion behind this case. Charlie was my friend. He was your friend. He was assassinated in the most brutal way in a public forum where he was trying to have engagement with the youth of the United States of America. And while I was representing the White House at Ground Zero in New York City on 9/11, we made the decision to pivot immediately and fly out to Utah to make sure we executed this manhunt. We went out there, the FBI seized the video evidence and put it out to the public immediately. And then this individual was caught in 33 hours. And so I understand that there's so much charged emotion on the other evidence that was collected, the notes that you were talking about, the text message, excuse me. And we present that information to the prosecutors to make the determination based on the evidence we have as to whether or not they were real. I can't stylize or comment on it because it's an ongoing investigation, but I don't believe the prosecutors in the state of Utah would be using any piece of information or evidence that was not credible.
Last but not least on Charlie, there were texts by certain trans individuals online before the assassination talking about something big is going to be happening, and then after he was killed saying, and there it is, leading many of us to wonder whether there was some sort of trans-Tifa connection to the murder, or at least maybe some tip-off to the community. Is that under investigation?
That is most definitely under investigation, and we've disclosed a lot of that to the prosecution, or all of it that we have, and they've made some of it public to include that he was in a relationship with an individual who was part of that community, and that he was engaged in communications with other individuals in that community. But as to how they relate to the prosecution, that's up to the Utah prosecutors to say, we need this in court, and we're going to hold it till we release it, till his trial.
Ever read the label on a typical bag of chips? It's often a science experiment of seed oils, MSG, artificial dyes, and mystery ingredients. Masa is part of the growing movement to bring back real food. Masa chips contain just 3 ingredients: organic corn, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. Not only do these chips avoid the bad stuff, they also taste delicious too. Snacking on Masa chips is nothing like eating regular chips. With Masa, you feel satisfied, light, and energetic with no crash and no bloat. And if you love Masa, then you will love Vandy Crisps. Vandy, which is Masa's sister company, makes the most delicious 3-ingredient potato chips too. Ready to give Masa or Vandy a try? Use code MK for 25% off your first order at masachips.com or vandycrisps.com, or simply click the link in the video description or scan the QR code to claim this delicious offer. Don't feel like ordering online? Masa and Vandy are now available nationwide at your local Sprouts supermarket. Stop by and pick a couple of bags up before they're all gone. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.
Welcome back. Charlie Kirk's final book is out today. It's called Stop in the Name of God, Why Honoring the Sabbath Will Transform Your Life. It's currently #1 on Amazon. He wrote it just 1 month before his assassination. Charlie had been urging people to disconnect from technology and reconnect with what matters. Watch this.
Turn your phone off for 1 day. No contact, no social media, no work. Your mental health will improve dramatically. That is a day to go be with God. That is a day to read your Bible and be out of the busyness and the hurriedness and the anger and the noise of this world.
Erika, this theme, it connects with everybody.
It
right? We're
does.
talking about this all the time, how we can be closer to family and to friends and be off our phones. Why was this so important for Charlie?
Because he knew that it transcended any type of political label, any age group, any demographic. And Charlie was known for being a bridge builder. And this is what helped fill that generational gap between grandparents and their grandchildren or parents and their children. And he knew, being able to see it firsthand, how it impacted his family and in us. And he knew that this was something that the world needed to hear, and God did too. And he put it on his heart, and Charlie wrote it. And I know that it's going to change and impact millions of lives.
It's amazing. Let's go around. Jesse?
When we sat down together, you told me the routine.
It was the routine.
He on a sunny day, he'd stretch, he'd reflect, he'd
go for
read.
a hike.
What was that like on those days of Sabbath?
Precious, priceless. I saw a side of my husband that the world never got to see. And that to me was so special, because that was him just being able to breathe, be able to be with the Lord, let my children climb all over him, be daddy, and get, yes, the world knows him as Charlie Kirk. I know him as my husband. My babies know him as daddy. And he was able to just reset, recalibrate, and say, you know what? The noise of this world can wait 24 hours. I can get back to it once I have a fresh brain and I'm rested.
I'm curious if your children are younger than the ones that I'm thinking about, but I have friends who I think would love to do this, especially as you start to get a little bit older and maybe the preteens or early teens, and they have phones.
Mm-hmm.
And parents are looking for a way to get them off their phone. It's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any thoughts about that in terms of what it did for your family, even though your children were younger? It could probably still have the same kind of effect for kids that are.
Oh, well, we're not screen time family with the children. I joke around that, yes, we did watch Charlie's show all the time. And then Bob Ross for nap-inducing moments. But it was very much so that that's not where our interaction is. You go to a dinner table, and if someone's on their phone while you're talking to them and having a conversation, they're half listening. So they're physically there, but they're not mentally there. So what kind of conversation is that? And so what Charlie also realized is the beauty and true authentic communication that's totally lacking these days. The fact that we can sit here and all have a conversation, the five of us, is amazing. That's actually a rare thing at a dinner table. All of us are focusing on what each person's saying, but when you're at a dinner table in Manhattan and you have kids and family, half of the people have their phones, like it's very disconnected. So maybe more dinner tables should look like this.
Yeah, indeed.
Right.
Tyrus?
There's no food on the table. First of all, it's my first time meeting you, so I'd like to say I'm very sorry for your loss. That's the first thing I'd like to say. And secondly, how are the children? How are you holding up? Like your daily routine obviously is forever changed.
It is.
With all the whirlwind and everything that you're between books and speech engagements and taking over Turning Point, like is the goal eventually to get back to where you were with your children before?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it just, I mean, obviously it's all new and you're still going through it, but
right. No, it's a very fair question. It's a great question. I am now at my age having to relearn my life. It's a very fair question. My babies come with me to the office anytime that I do have to go into the office. But what is so powerful is that Charlie handpicked the leadership team at Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. He knew exactly who needed to be in the leadership roles to get things done, because he also had his radio show and his podcast, and he was traveling on campuses doing Prove Me Wrongs. So for him, he wanted to make sure that his baby, Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action, they were running smoothly. And so he was so instrumental and intentional about who he put in those positions. So I am very blessed to have a team. I cannot do this without my team and my family. I call them my family because they are. Those staff members are not employees to me. They're family members. It is not a 9-to-5. It's a mission-driven organization. And everyone that works there is working there because they understand the heart and soul and the DNA of Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. They're not there for just getting a paycheck. And it's so powerful. And Turning Point USA, I need that organization just as much as this country does, because they are my family. And I know that what my husband started was founder-led, and now it's vision-led, and we are all locked in. It's very powerful.
I wanted to ask you, so I do have kids around the same age as yours, and I've been overwhelmed by how you have managed this and the grace that you've shown. And in particular, as someone, I'm a Reformed Jew, not particularly religious, but I was really struck by you saying just a few days after Charlie was murdered that you forgave Tyler Robinson, the alleged murderer, I think we're still supposed to say. Can you talk to us about how you managed to do that? Because that seems like the number one life lesson that I would love to get from someone, how you could find that in yourself. And you're modeling a Christianity that is so inspirational to me, especially as someone who's not particularly religious.
No, it's very kind. I appreciate that. It's again, I've said this and I'll say it again, that was something I heavily prayed on. I'm not going to say something that I don't believe in, and I wouldn't expect anyone else to. And I wouldn't expect someone to understand my position, especially with something that's as horrific and evil. But at the same time, hate is very powerful from the standpoint of it's all consuming. It will deteriorate. It will tear you apart. It will, I know they say it's like drinking a poison. It impacts you more than the other person. And if I had any ounce of hate in my heart, the Lord would not be able to use me. I also want to be able to show people that, yes, okay, you forgive someone. You don't forget what they did. It's not a weakness. It's a form of a strength to know, okay, Lord, I am surrendering to you. You have a choice. Am I going to stand in the corner, be in fetal position and crying, or I'm going to stand on my 2 feet by the Lord's strength, be able to say, Lord, give me grace today. I don't know how you're going to use it, but I know you'll use it for your glory. I'm here. Use me. Shine the light of where I'm supposed to go. And please, every single day, give me grace, heal me, Lord. And it's just a repetitive thing. Faith is just a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And I pray that everyone understands that your life might be the only Bible someone reads. So be authentic with it.
Greg is not here. He has the sniffles, Erika. But Harold is also not here. This is Jessica. Harold, Jesse, and Greg are in a Bible study group together.
Are they really?
Because of Charlie Kirk.
Okay, that is really cool.
So every morning,
that is really cool.
Every morning we wake up and we read a passage and then we text about it.
Okay.
And it is because of Charlie.
I love that.
Wait a minute.
You're not invited.
I don't. No, I lift weights in the morning.
You can still get Bible verses when you're lifting.
You mentioned them, but you didn't put yourself in. But you're reading the texts. So you're in the group too.
No, I'm in the group. I said Jesse. I spoke of myself in the third person,
which is annoying.
I'm sorry.
I speak in third person, not you. We've discussed it. It's in my contract. Tyrus doesn't like that.
Have you been hearing anecdotes about that? This is how Charlie impacted me. I'm reconnecting with the Lord.
It is so powerful. People that are buying Bibles for the first time, going back to church in years, calling their family members and apologizing or saying, hey, can we somehow bridge this, heal this? It's powerful. And Charlie, every single day on his way into work, would text people Bible verses. And he just wanted to remind people that this is what it's all about. It's about, your life here is so short. So are you going to use your short time here on earth to make this place better, or are you going to make it worse? Are you going to be a solution, or are you going to be an additional problem? And so every day he wanted to help people remember, okay, when I message you, it's to get your mind right and your heart right in the right heart space. You're going to start off your day with a Bible verse, even if you're not Christian, even if you're not Jewish, even if you don't believe in anything, at least you're reading something that is true and beautiful, and it gets you set on the right pace to have an amazing day and maybe bless someone else along the way.
I think we have time for one more. So I just picked in this chapter 11 begins, it's called Now It's Your Turn to Act. But right before that, one of the lines that Charlie wrote says, the Sabbath is not a burden to bear, it's a grace to embrace. And he says in chapter 11, I write this with as much humility as possible. If I can carve out a Sabbath, so can you.
That's true.
And he talks about the demands on his time. So for people out there who are thinking, that sounds great, but I have so much to do, what would you say?
Well, make adjustments and not excuses. That's what he would say. And I second that.
Love that. So stop in the name of God, honor the Sabbath. Why honoring the Sabbath will transform your life. I shouldn't shorten it. #1 on Amazon. Congratulations. on sale now. You can go to 45books.com to get a copy of Charlie's book.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.
But it's my privilege to bring in Erika KIRK, Turning Point USA CEO, and she wrote the foreword to Charlie Kirk, her husband's book, Stop in the Name of God, Why Honoring the Sabbath Will Transform Your Life. Erika, great to see you.
Likewise, good to see you.
It's hard to imagine a busier person than you that's been through more than you have been. And that's when I found out 2 weeks ago, oh, she's going to be coming by with a book tour. I thought to myself, oh my goodness.
Well, it's not my book, it's my husband's, and it's bittersweet because these are his final words that he left, not just the world, but also to me. And he used to write me a letter every single Saturday during the Sabbath for him. So this book now is my love letter for the rest of my life.
So what's interesting is, I think it's Larry Arnn of Hillsdale.
Dr. Larry Arnn.
So here is, I'm looking at Charlie when he was 22, 23. I think I was invited to speak at one of your events. I go, oh, yeah, I'll speak on it, no problem. I didn't really know what Turning Point was. And I walk in, and everyone in the hotel knows who I am. And I walk in, I had to speak at 7 in the morning, and there was probably 6,000 people there. I go, what is going on here? And he goes, these are all college kids. And he was sitting back as if this is just the beginning. But it was interesting when Larry Arnn spoke at your husband's memorial. He said how he came to him and said, this is what I want to do. And he basically said, you got to learn more. You got to study. And he took 33 separate courses from Hillsdale.
He did.
And what did that bring to him, and how did that lead to this?
He always was on the hunt for truth and beauty and things that were eternal. That was his focus. And when he saw that he didn't want to be a talking figure, he wanted to be a movement leader and a thought leader. And so in order to do that, you need to constantly be reading, learning, doing everything that you need to be able to make a difference in a way where it's not, I'm preaching at you. Instead, it was along the lines of, no, I read this and this works, this doesn't work. Let me show you a different way of living.
And that's what came into I also noticed, and as I mentioned this on Fox and Friends, that Dennis Prager was somebody that he dedicated the book to.
He did.
Right? Because what did Dennis Prager bring to Charlie Kirk?
So Charlie listened to every single fireside chat. I had the blessing of being able to see Dennis this past week when we were on our way to Florida. I wanted to see him. I wanted to be able to just read to him the dedication of the book that Charlie did for him and just say, Dennis, you will always be one of the most influential voices of our time. Thank you for taking the time to pour into my husband.
And he's a religious scholar. He writes books that what I've seen him put together, man, you can't take a sentence off.
No, he is so phenomenal at breaking down the Torah and going through and writing commentaries on the Old Testament, which Charlie read all of them. He read all of them, and you cannot understand the New Testament if you do not read the Old Testament. You cannot separate the two. And so Charlie knew that if I'm going to write a book on this, on the Sabbath, I need to understand fully what this is, implement it into my life, see how it works, and then show others this is how it's done.
Erika KIRK here. The name of the book is Stop in the Name of God, Why Honoring the Sabbath Will Transform Your Life. I have always, and again, I am not a religious scholar, but I know people who are Orthodox Jewish, Orthodox Jews. And that's the ones, and they're, by the way, almost all of them are almost billionaires, but they go, don't call me on Saturday. Why? I can't get back to you. I'm off. Remember Joe Lieberman? He's running for president. I'm off. I don't use cars. I don't do anything. I didn't equivocate. I didn't play that out to Christianity. Is it for both religions?
Well, it is a commandment. It's part of the 10 Commandments. But what Charlie's trying to explain in this book is that put the legalism aside. Look at this from the standpoint of if you don't honor the Sabbath, meaning the day of rest, God is asking you to just press pause and rest and be with him so that he can use you and you can be the man or the woman that he needs you to be in order to make a difference in this world. Charlie's saying, don't get caught up in the legalism of it. Instead, do what you can to say, okay, these are a few hours that I can turn my phone off, disconnect, be with the Lord, be with my family, and unplug.
there are certain things, like for us, we would make sure that Friday night, it was family dinner night. And then all day Saturday was family time. Charlie always prioritized myself and the children. And he would also make sure that we would get a date night in. He made sure that I always knew that I was always above anything else. And he made that amplified during the Sabbath.
It's interesting because after he hosted Fox and Friends, so I texted him right away and I said, are you interested in doing this? I've never seen somebody just take to it right away, because you know Fox and Friends is a slice of life. It's not here's the news. It is how do you feel about the news?
Right.
What is your opinion of the news?
Right.
Is there a format better built for him? So he goes, Brian, not a chance. Do you see my weekends? And a part of it was this. He goes, yeah, I'm not available.
They're sacred. They're sacred because he could not do or operate on the level that he was without having a minute to breathe. And he wanted to also be able to show an example. He's a father. People sometimes forget, yes, he was a movement leader, but he was a dad to a son. Even though my baby boy is very little, he did not take that lightly. He knew that I am not raising a boy, I am raising a man. And so if I'm going to be what I want my son to be or to look up to, I need to live up to that standard. I need to stop doing things that Charlie didn't drink, not because, again, being legalistic, but he could not operate the way he needed to operate. Being drunk. Like that just does not happen. Or going out and partying with the boys. That doesn't happen. Yes, you can have fun. There's many different ways of having fun. This is not supposed to put guardrails on your quote unquote fun. It's supposed to put into perspective how you can be a true spiritual head and leader of your home so that your son can be the spiritual leader and head of his home. And we need to make strong young men that are respectful to their wives and to their children and know, look, there's a different way of living that will enhance your life in a way you couldn't even have imagined, rather than thinking you're getting your answers from college.
So the name of the book is Stop in the Name of God. Go to 45books.com to order it right now. But just a question about you.
Yes.
Who is responsible for raising someone like yourself with the values and ethics and drive that you have? Like, how did you become you?
I have an amazing family. My mother's the blessing of all. My father was amazing as well. Although my parents were divorced when I was 5, I was very, very close also to my grandparents. And my grandparents, I was with them every Saturday. So without me even knowing, I guess now just even thinking of this with you, that I guess was my Sabbath. I went and stayed with my grandparents Saturday, all day Saturday night, would come home to my mom on Sunday. But on Saturday night, after having dinner with my grandparents, we'd watch the Lawrence Welk Show. That started when I was 10 and didn't end until I was 18. So for me, but this is really sweet, even reminiscing on this. That was, I guess, my form of a Sabbath.
So you were always family oriented.
Always. Family is so important. And Charlie saw that too. And that's why we understood how important tradition was and pouring into your family and being so close to each other, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, with your short life here, what are you leaving behind? You don't get to take anything with you. Charlie did not have anything attached to his casket. He didn't have his books, his radio show, nothing. He came into this world the same way as he exited. And so what are you going to leave behind? You're leaving behind your legacy with your family and your children.
So he felt like he was in a rush to achieve. Yeah. He had a vision. And from what you know and what you know about his childhood, what laid the groundwork for that?
He always was so good with time. He was an unbelievable person of time management down to the millisecond. And he always knew that if I could steward my time in a way that was productive and a way that was always moving towards something bigger and something greater, that he was in the right jet stream. And that's how he operated.
Did that come from his parents, or is that how he was?
I think that's just how he was wired. It was never I don't think it's very, very hard to learn how to be very good at time management. You can learn, but to master it at his level, that's a total God blessing and a gift.
Oh yeah. For a guy that had so much going on, he never seemed in a ruch, right? He always seemed like he knew
he was very intentional. Okay, I have 5 minutes. And then he got everything out in 5 minutes, and then he was on to the next meeting, on to the next event.
Wow.
He was very intentional.
So Erika KIRK is doing a book tour for Charlie Kirk's last book, her husband. It's Stop in the Name of God, Why Honoring the Sabbath Will Transform Your Life. I got it yesterday. I got through half of it in like an hour. It's really great.
It's powerful.
It's excellent. So But you don't stop, and I know that when the message, I know it's certain to be a bestseller. Go to 45books.com. A few more minutes with Erika KIRK in a moment. She's also going to be on the 5 tonight, so if she's not busy enough, don't move. You listen to the Brian Kilmeade Show. So she is here to explain the book, what it meant, and how it was all put together, and you can get it at 45books.com. We got to make this, and it was a runaway bestseller, which I'm sure it will be. So Erika, as everything you got to do, running Turning Point Action, which is the vote, Turning Point USA, which is the college tour and the next generation, the youth. And then you have to do this thing, you have the media element to you with the very successful podcast. And then what about you, the mom, and the kids? How do you choose now with all the people around you who will be the role models that you want your kids to be influenced by?
Well, we have a phenomenal team at Turning Point USA. It's a family. And Charlie handpicked every single person that's in leadership. So what the beautiful part about Turning Point USA is that everyone behind the scenes, when you pull back the curtain, they're doing exactly what they were doing on 9/9 before 9/10 happened. And we haven't lost speed. I mean, yes, of course we took time to mourn, but our team, for example, when Charlie was murdered, within 7 days we were able, by the grace of God, and we pushed through to put on that memorial for him. Our team does not look at this as a 9 to 5. It's vision led, it's movement driven, but it's also a way for our whole team to put their pain into something that is so bigger than any of us. And we all need this organization just as much as this country does. So it's not a job to us.
So I know how you put it together and how hard people worked, but even you must have been astounded by the number of people that
Blown
attended.
away.
And it took over the whole
Blown
town.
away. Not even the town.
There was more on the outside than the inside.
It was a global ripple effect that no one, I mean, yes, I knew my husband had impact, but to that multitude and extent is the Lord. Right. And only God can use someone to that capacity when you surrender yourself fully and say, Lord, use me how you need to.
And then you to walk out in front of 70, 80,000 people watching around the globe. Our network never took a break. We covered that. And knowing you were grieving because Charlie is no longer with us. Can you bring me to that moment when you walk out?
So I intentionally stayed in my own green room that whole time. I listened to some of the worship music. Actually, I listened to all of it. But there was a moment where they said, do you want to go and stand behind stage so you can see and feel inside? I said, no, I don't want to. I want to be able to feel that whole emotion the second I walk out on stage. Like, I want to feel the true impact of this moment. Because they said, do you want to sit out there? And I said, no, I just want to pray. I just want to be alone with my thoughts and with the Lord before I step out on that stage. And it just was the most overwhelming. I mean, when you hear a stadium and when you hear them singing hallelujah, that is a slice of heaven on earth that I don't think anyone will ever be able to put into words. It was unbelievably powerful.
But then you have to speak.
And then you have to speak. And then you see the videos of my kids and him, and like, it is just gut-wrenching.
And you did.
You have to put, life is tough. It is beautiful, but it is tough. And you are going to have to find a way. And anyone who has been through hell and back knows this. When you go through, and we were just talking about this off air, you have a decision to make when something like this happens in your life. Are you going to go into the corner and be in fetal position and just let it happen and you know, cry and cry and cry? Yes, there are moments to cry, yes. Right. But are you going to turn that moment into something and say, you know what? God, give me grace. Please give me grace. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I know that you will put one foot in front of the other and you will help me get through this, Lord. You will help me. Again, I don't know how, but I will, whatever strength you give me, strengthen the inner workings of my soul, Lord. Use me how you need to use me. Use this to make a difference. You have a decision.
And I could see that determination in seeing you face to face. Stop in the Name of God is out. Go to 45books.com. How interested are you in the investigation about what goes on? Like, what role does that play in everything that you think about?
No, it's a great question. We have a phenomenal team. I am in contact with our attorneys and the prosecutors basically daily, being like, anything new, anything new. we know without a shadow of a doubt, with the evidence that we have, that we're moving in the correct direction. I
And-
trust our team with full stop.
Is part of it because you know who Kash Patel is and Dan Bongino is at the head, or is it your
It's not even that. When you have the truth and the facts, you don't need, you don't need anything else. I've seen the autopsy report. I've seen all of that. I mean, if you have the truth and you don't believe the truth, I don't know what to tell you.
But yet people don't believe. People don't trust anything that they're seeing. I've been blown away by people come up to me and say, hey, I know you interviewed Charlie, but you know we're not getting the right story. Well, what do you mean you're not getting the right story? Well, you know that gun couldn't have done this, or he couldn't have been there, or something happened in the middle. I had somebody come up to me and say someone popped out of a manhole cover and shot him directly, and that manhole cover's been covered up. I go, I've never heard of a crazier thing, and they thought I was crazy for even questioning them. I mean, you must be getting this. It's the conspiracy theory.
I have heard all of them. And thank God we have a trial coming up. Unfortunately, that trial is in a long time. What I want to be mindful of for people is that this was a murder. This is not something that, what I don't want to have happen is for this to taint the jury pool. I don't. I want my husband, I want justice for my husband more than any other person on the internet, any other person in this world. That was my husband and the father to my kids. We will make sure, and we have been, turning over every single stone, going down every single lead. So when these people say, oh, they haven't talked about this or done that, how do you know? You're not in those meetings with the attorneys and the prosecutors. You have no idea. And why would we share that information with the internet to what? Then give the defense more stuff that's not true? Like, it's just, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, the truth is the truth.
And this book is fantastic. I really encourage everyone to get it. Stop in the Name of God. Why Honoring the Sabbath Will Transform Your Life. Erika KIRK, great to see you. Good luck on the 5 today.
Thank you.
And thanks for putting up to me with 2 interviews.
No, it's good. You're the best. God bless you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.
So Charlie Kirk strongly believed in observing the Sabbath to refocus on what truly matters.
It says very, very clearly in the scriptures, for 6 days you shall work, and the 7th day you shall rest. If you are feeling overrun by society, you might be feeling depressed or anxious, here's this one way that you might be able to improve. Turn your phone off for 1 day. No contact, no social media, no work. Your mental health will improve dramatically. You can hang out with friends, you can go for a walk, but don't work for 1 day. That is a day for worship. That is a day for the Lord. That is a day to go be with God. That is a day to read your Bible and be out of the busyness and the hurriedness and the anger and the noise of this world.
Wow. So weeks before Charlie's assassination, he finished what would become his final book, Stop in the Name of God, Why Honoring the Sabbath Will Transform Your Life.
And Charlie's precious widow and a friend of ours and CEO of Turning Point USA, Erika KIRK, wrote the foreword, and she joins us now. Erika, I heard last night on Sean's show you said you haven't been able to read the end of the book yet. You're not there yet.
I'm not, because there's so many, you only get so many firsts and lasts in your life. Yeah. And so for me, this is one all tied together. It's the first that I'm reading, my husband's last and final book that he wrote. And when you finish that, that's the last time you read it.
Yeah, well, he wrote.
I mean, you read it again, but it's the last first.
Yeah, I loved this that he said. The Sabbath is God's answer to a culture spinning out of control. It is his ancient rhythm of sanity, planted like an anchor in a world swept away by currents of chaos. 6 days we work, build, create, engage. On the 7th day we stop, but not because we're weak. We stop because we're human. We don't rest because we're lazy. We rest because we're obedient. How did y'all do this? Because we were talking, I'd love to do this.
No, it's so again, Charlie, he took his time going into this, but he didn't write this because he needed to figure it out. He wrote this because it was already figured out and he saw, wow, this changed and impacted my life. But I have to tell you something. I've really been praying about this because I feel as if Charlie wrote this book for me. These are his last words written that were on his heart. He finished this in July when we were together as a family. And I can't help but think, when you read this book, he's basically saying, like, I am getting so much noise from everyone. And you guys get this too.
I know
You get the echo chamber. You get people analyzing everything about you. They think they know everything about you. They know nothing about you. They see you on TV. They think, oh, she's this, she's that. He said this, he said that. And honestly, it's Charlie saying, baby E, just stop. Stop. You don't have to answer to every single person that's accusing you of things or saying that you're doing this or grieving a certain way. Baby, just stop. You know who you are and whose you are, and I'm here. I see you. And if Charlie, and I'm taking a page out of his book, if he answered to every single critic and didn't stop and put his phone down and breathe and rest with the Lord, he'd get nothing done. He would not have built Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action.
And I read in your book that in Charlie's book, when he said, at first, when Dennis Prager, I guess, played a big role in that.
He did. Dennis did.
What an unbelievably bright individual, great guy.
Dennis is precious.
And he said, you got to do this. And he thought, how can I do this with the president calls? He's running Turning Point Action, Turning Point. I got to set up this college tour. If I shut off my phone, how many things wouldn't get done? And then when he shut it down and then put it on, there was only 2 messages.
But if you think about it, people,
and it's true, though.
You're almost like training the people around you to say, hey, this is how life used to be. You left the office at 5. No one could reach you. I mean, you had a beeper, but like no one could reach you until the next morning. But it's retraining the world. You used to have blue laws. Like, it's retraining the world to say, okay, at 5 o'clock, unless it's an emergency, give me a phone call. I'm not going to respond to your text message. I'm with my babies. I'm putting the kids to bed. I'm spending time with my husband. I'm fixing the generational gap because I want to be able to show them rest and importance. You're a priority, not my office.
Erika, Charlie and I, we're from the same generation of young conservative, you as well. And there's a list of people that are there in the movement waiting for who's going to be the next leader of the movement, who's going to get these young. Do you feel like these were the words that were almost prophetic in the sense of 100%. He left these as like a guide for the movement?
100%. Lawrence, you're absolutely right. And you know it too. You can have all the political stances that you want. You can be able to make all the different strategy and political moves that you want. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, we are human.
Right.
We are so fragile and we are human. We are not machines. So if you think that you're going to just be so productive and so busy because you're getting your to-do list done, what are you actually doing? No, you're just one of 1,000 in a million. If you really want to be used in a way that is so profound to change this world, you have to press pause and you have to be able to listen to the Lord, listen from the Lord, be able to have people around you that will pour into you, that will mentor you, that will love on you, and say, you know what? This world that's so noisy right now, go ahead and keep talking. I'm taking a pause because I need to know who I need to be as a leader in order to lead. I can't just keep following down this path and expect to be able to make a difference with the youth.
Yeah, Erika, I cannot imagine what you're going through. You found the love of your life, and that's the goal for all of us, right?
I know.
You did, and he was taken so early. What do you miss most? How are his parents doing? Because his parents are private. We saw them for the first time at the funeral.
Yes.
You did such a beautiful job there. How are all of y'all doing? You talk a little bit about the kids, but how's your mom doing? I mean, I know she's devastated for you.
My mom is Charlie and my mom. Well, Charlie's family's there. Everyone's hanging in there. We're doing the best to be expected. My mom and Charlie, they were best friends. I would always say that Charlie was her favorite child. But the thing that was so special about our Sabbath dinners was that it wasn't about religious protocol. Right. It was literally going to my mom's house. My mom's battling a very rare illness. It was literally going to my mom's house for dinner with my mom. It was, again, bridging that generational gap where my kids don't have phones, they're not looking at iPads, they're not looking at screens. We're sitting together and we're talking and we're loving on each other. How was your week? What were your wins? What are you grateful for? We went around the table and talked about that. And that was what was so special about our Friday nights. And Charlie was like, we have our Friday nights. But it's interesting, what I miss the most, what really just hits me hard is when I'm in the grocery store and I see his hot sauce, I want to buy it. Or it's the little things, you know, his clothes everywhere. Excuse me, but it's the little things. And I know that people who have experienced loss totally understand what I'm saying. It's the small things that just get you. It's the visual of, you know, Daddy coming home, and to the world he was Charlie Kirk, but to us he was my love of my life and my children's dad. I'm so sorry.
Understandable.
Excuse me, but it's those little things where, again, he would walk through the door, drop his bags, Daddy's home, take his phone, Friday night, Shabbat Shalom, throw it in the junk drawer, and it was just all us. And that's what I always wanted to make so special for him, was coming home. I'd always say, baby, I don't care what time you get home. Home is here for you. Your food will never be cold. It might sit out for a little bit, but I'll reheat it. It's fine. And I just want to encourage spouses, don't get mad. It's so easy. Don't do it.
Here's an excerpt from the forward in your book. You write this: I knew Charlie so deeply in a way no one could. That is why I can say with certainty these pages are not theory for him. They are testimony. The words you hold in your hands were the convictions he lived by that were written on his heart. Looking back now, I see the book as one of Charlie's most enduring gifts to the world. He did not know how brief his time on earth would be. None of us did. But the truths written in this book are not bound by time. They will outlive us all, as will the legacy of his faith. And in the book, he goes into details about the Bible.
Yes, he does. He does. It's really powerful. He became a subject matter expert, if you will. We have 50 plus books on our bookshelf about the Sabbath, and he spent a lot of time talking to Dennis Prager about this. He learned as much as he could, and again, he implemented it in his life because he knew that it was something that would, communication is everything. And so when he was on campus, he knew talking to people was very important, especially the youth. We don't communicate with each other anymore. So something as simple as talking goes viral because no one talks. The miscommunication is out of control. And so he was so good at communicating and understanding and bridging that gap. And for him, this book was one of those moments where, okay, if you have communication mixed in with people turning off the noise and the chatter and actually resetting and rehumanizing, putting those together is a beautiful symphony of how this country can heal. And he knew that, and that's why he wanted to share it with everybody.
Eric, I want to show you a moment because you were just talking about your kids.
Yes.
And the last Kirk to sit there was actually Charlie Kirk when he came to fill in. Here's this beautiful moment of your daughter running in to see her father.
Oh, I
Let's
remember
play
after
it.
the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of that?
I'm just glad that I know she's young, but she's so smart. And I'm so glad that she had that moment. She would always listen to his speeches. I always had his show playing. I laugh when people are like, do your kids watch TV? I was like, well, yeah, they watch either Daddy's show or they're watching Bob Ross because he has a very nap-inducing voice.
Yeah.
But it was special. It was so special.
I mean, he hosted 8 hours that weekend, so it's a
Look at
4-hour show.
I love that video of her.
I know.
Look, her little pigtails.
I know. It's so
And
sweet.
that story, that's where y'all met, Erica. Did
He
you
loved
know
our
you were going to
babies
marry
so
him
much.
in that moment? Because he said, I don't want you to work for me.
No,
I want to date you.
No, I fell in love with him so quickly because he was so direct. The Lord knew I needed a man that was not going to mess around, that was not going to say, let's see where it goes. Let's go get coffee. Let's go get drinks. We never drank. It was like one of those things where it was like, no, I want to date you. I want to marry you. I'm pursuing you intentionally. And that's what's so important for a lot of young people today that are looking for their spouses. Don't waste your time. The right person will literally say, I know that this is something special. Let's honor the Lord. Let's do this right. I'm not going to treat my boyfriend like my fiance and my fiance like my husband. Like, we're going to do this the right way. And that's what we did. And we just wanted our relationship to always honor and glorify the Lord.
You know, Erika, can you walk us through, it's something that Ainsley, Brian have talked about, forgiveness, right?
Yes.
And it's, for us, on a
that
personal
moment at the
level,
funeral.
we can't forgive people for less. But you had so much, how did you get to that point where you could forgive on a national stage?
Like I told Andrew, that was something that was a game time decision. I'm not going to just say, words are so powerful. I mean, God created the world with words. Words are very, very powerful. And to me, I'm never going to say something I don't mean. Charlie was the same exact way. He would tell you just how it is. And it's, again, faith is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And I am not going to let the enemy have a foothold in my life. How am I supposed to be the mother I need to be? How am I supposed to be the leader of Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action, the youth, when I myself have a deep, unrooted, horrible, nasty hate in my heart? I cannot operate with hate in my heart. No one can. No one can be fruitful with hate in your heart. And I just, that does not mean we're weak.
Right.
That does not mean we're weak. That does not mean we forgive. I will never forgive that. Excuse me, I will never forget that. Sorry. I will never forget that. I will forgive it, but that's because I know that the Lord is just and sovereign. But it's one of those things where people need to understand that hate is very powerful, but love is more powerful.
So how interested are you in what went off in this guy, the suspect, that allowed him to do such a heinous act? Like, that's what I ask myself almost every day. What prompted that individual to get on that roof and end your husband's life? Do you have questions about that, or have you just socked that away and leave it to the lawyers?
No, if you think about it, everything starts small, okay? So when you start believing in something or diving into something, it starts with a small little seed. So is that seed going to be something that was planted and go towards the light and go towards the Lord? Or is that seed that's planted that's going to go towards evil and darkness? And it starts with one little inch that just keeps growing and growing and growing. And you have a choice in life. And again, Charlie was trying to save the exact man that murdered him by trying to reach that generation and say, there is a different way to live. There is a way better and healthier and pure and beautiful, truthful way to live. Why are you wasting your time with brain rot? Why are you wasting your time with things you know are so unhealthy, so unproductive, so divisive, so evil, when there's so many other things you can be focusing on that you can build and that you can harness for good? Why are you wasting your short time? My husband lived for 31 years. That's it. We don't have a lot of time here at all. But if you spend that time on things that are beautiful and true and good, that is how our country can heal and start going forward in a way, in a direction that we never thought could be possible, because the Lord can use that. If you just let that little seed in your life go towards hate and evil, we're on a totally different path.
Yeah, you know, we're watching you go through all of this, and I want you to know there are always going to be the naysayers. There are going to be the people that might question this or that about that day, and we know some of those headlines. But it's always bigger in your head. Someone told me that when I got into this business. It's always bigger in your head than it is to the rest, because most of the people aren't following the headlines or like you are or like we are. And when I got in the business, people would write, not to make it about me, I'm just trying to say this to help you. They would write the most negative things, and I would just be so upset about it.
It's hurtful.
Because I'm like, this trying to be this good Christian girl, trying. I make mistakes every day. I sin.
We all do.
But I'm reading these negative things, and it really, really bothered me, especially the personal ones when I'm going through the deepest things. But then I realized they don't know me. Even the ones who love us, bless their hearts, they don't really know us either. So the people who really matter are our God, our family, the people who do know us. And that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
So all the negative press, I think Charlie's right. I think Charlie's teaching you this week.
I know. He's saying stop. You don't have to respond to every single thing.
Yes.
I mean, it is nasty out there.
Because there are 5% of the people that might not like Charlie's message. The rest of the country, They might not always agree, but they're proud of him for standing up. They're heartbroken for you and your family. That's normal. That's what a human being does.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Erika, can you talk about the next phase of Turning Point? Because Charlie focused on young men. There's a crisis going on in the country when it comes to young men. Abandonment, weren't taking their places in the household. And now you're focused on young women.
Correct.
How's that task been? You've always been a writer. You've always had things to say, but you kind of focus on the family for a long time. People that knew you, we knew that you had all these thoughts. But how has the leadership role been for you now?
It's powerful because there was no daylight between Charlie and I, so I witnessed everything firsthand, front row seat. Charlie did have a phenomenal way of communicating with the young men of Gen Z and millennials, actually, honestly, every generation, to be quite frank. I have noticed that there's been an uptick in the women's interest in Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action, to be expected. But again, I view it as a holistic thing. You can't just focus on the female and you can't just focus on the male. There is a beautiful balance of having the two turn into one of, you're an American. You're an American.
That's right.
And so for me, something so important that we are going to continue to do is civil discourse, debate, dialogue. So important. If you cancel people and you say, you can't say that, why can't I say that? Tell me more. You have to counter bad ideas with good ideas. You have to have that debate and dialogue. And I can't have, what I do not want to have happen is someone say, well, I'm afraid to talk to that person because X, Y, Z, and I don't want them to be platformed. It has nothing, if we don't communicate and combat each other in a very civil discourse way of discourse, dialogue, that is where we get in trouble. And that's where this whole side, that you have to continue that. So that is very important to me. From the female standpoint, it's being able to show them that being a mother is not a weakness. That is a superpower, if anything. When you are a mother, something ignites within you that transforms and transcends you and beyond. That is so important to me. And I have to be honest, being a mother myself, we just came back from our gala this weekend. We had 2 students on stage, precious students. The mother bear inside of me is like, if you want to go after these kids, if you want to go after the youth, you have to go through me. I'm not going to let you touch these kids. On college campus, we just had Governor Abbott in Texas. We have other governors throughout the country that are saying Club America will be on our high school campuses. That is unbelievable.
Right.
Because that means that these kids, male, female, have the opportunity to be exposed to the truth, learn how to debate, learn how to stand for their convictions and what's on their heart, and they're not afraid. And that's what I need, is for these young kids to not be afraid.
And also to buy this book. It's called Stop in the Name of God, Why Honoring the Sabbath Will Transform Your Life, at 45books.com. Certain to be a bestseller. Thanks so much, Erika, for coming down.
God bless you. Thank you, guys.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you
guys
for
are great.
being
I'll talk
such
to you
a
on
good
radio
witness.
in about 20 minutes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. More Fox and Friends in just a moment. I'm Steve Ducey. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
These people have Charlie Kirk's blood on their hands. I don't believe there's any reforming these people. I don't believe there's any shaming these people. I think these people need to be defeated.
You've posted some messages about Charlie Kirk on your Instagram, and you're laughing.
If he had spent a modicum of his time focusing on the white youth, that perhaps he would still be with us today.
Charlie was a friend, a mentor of mine. To sit here today and listen to the discussions, I mean, I am just like in total disbelief.
I've been told all week he would have hated someone like you. No, he would have respected me because I'm my own person and I know how to have my own thoughts.
I can't even go to the grocery store alone anymore. I can't even walk my dog without a gun.
President Trump is in the UK for an historic second state visit. The world's most famous royal family is hosting the world's most famous president for a trip that was supposed to be about diplomacy and unity, but they're not really words anyone's using right now. It's 1 week since Charlie Kirk was assassinated. His alleged killer, Tyler Robinson, had no reaction as he learned he could now face the firing squad.
For the court's information, we did file just recently, within the last few minutes, a notice of intent to seek the death penalty.
Well, prosecutors have released chilling text messages which appear to show that Robinson confessed to the murder to his transgender roommate and boyfriend. I had enough of his hatred, Robinson said. Some hate can't be negotiated out. Everything we know about Robinson so far, from his family's evidence to the messages scrawled on bullets, point to a screamingly obvious motive. But with each new revelation, many legacy media pundits have sought to minimize their relevance.
It's not really helpful for the tone and tenor of the radicalization of our country right now. We've seen time and time again over the last year how people of the trans community have been blamed for a whole host of things. And so I think that putting that out there, and if you look online like I do, you see a lot of people picking that up on the far right. They're looking to demonize and blame trans people. It's not helpful.
Just to be clear, I mean, just law enforcement people, I don't think we know the meaning of his message. We know his history.
Bella Ciao is an anti-fascist thing. It says fascists catch this.
Then I'll give you his history. Then I'll give you his history, right? Think about his history. His history, but this is not the.
Why are we debating that?
This is what
that's
why I wanted to tell you. This was my point, not yours. This was my point, not yours. The point is, who cares?
A kid. This is probably his first real relationship, and somebody was disparaging the person that he loved. He sat on that building for 30 minutes before he took the shot. Why did he wait until the first word trans came up? Then he took the shot.
You think he heard it? He could hear it?
I think he could hear it. I think he also, I don't believe he was motivated politically. I think this was motivated emotionally.
What? The hypocrisy is astounding. For what it's worth, I don't think tying these tragedies to party politics is particularly helpful. The common theme is deeply disturbed people who spend too much time on the dark corners of the internet and have no purpose in life. But if a liberal star had been gunned down by a Christian family values assassin from the right, how many of these people would now be yelling, "Who cares?" And didn't President Biden hold a national address to say MAGA Republicans were the nation's greatest danger? If you care about motives, it works both ways. And on the subject of dishonesty and hypocrisy, the Attorney General Pam Bondi is facing a bipartisan backlash for saying this.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
There is no First Amendment. Why am I telling this to the American Attorney General? There is no First Amendment exception for hate speech, as many guests have reminded me on the show since we launched. You can and should be repulsed by the people mocking Charlie Kirk and his grieving family. But the organized witch hunt, searching for reasons to hound them out of their jobs, feels a little bit too close to the cancel culture that the right, quite rightly, have always tried to resist. Let's not forget that Charlie Kirk died fighting that kind of culture. Well, joining me now is the host of the Megyn Kelly Show, Megyn Kelly. Megyn, great to have you on Unsaid. So I just want to start by saying how sorry I am to you on a personal level for the loss of Charlie Kirk, because I watched you on the day it happened. I saw how emotional you were. I saw how much this had personally affected you, and it really moved me. And so just on a human level, I'm really sorry for you and your loss at losing your friend. Just turning to the reaction though, so many parts of this really concern me. Obviously the killing itself, horrific that someone should be shot dead for their opinions. The way that so many on the woke left, young people, so gleefully race to celebrate this on social media, joyously celebrating and reveling in this brutal murder of a young father. And then to watch the very liberal skewed mainstream media, you and I talked about this a lot, but look at the tortured ways they are trying so hard to avoid saying the obvious about this shooter and trying to find something, anything, to excuse what he did. All of it is grotesque.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for that, Piers. It was a devastating day and unlike anything I've ever experienced or want to experience again. you know, Charlie and I weren't the kind of friends who were meeting for dinner, but I'd had him on my show over 15 times in the past year and a half. Like, I'd had him on tons of times. I'd been on his show tons of times. We did a bunch of Turning Point events together, and I spoke with him many times backstage. And so I felt like I knew him as a friend and knew what he stood for. Not to mention all the countless hours I've seen him on these college campuses and all the prep you do when somebody's coming on your show. So I do feel like I knew who he was. I really do. And he was total goodness. I mean, he was truly a happy warrior. The picture that's being painted of him by his detractors now bears no resemblance whatsoever to the man I knew. And they didn't. They didn't. Because I see what the few who will bother to offer evidence of their views that he was this terrible guy, a racist, what have you. It's helpful. I appreciate when they say why they thought that. Because I'm familiar with almost all of the incidents that they used to batter Charlie, and they're fake. It's fake news. Charlie was honestly the most optimistic person in our movement. I mean, I was saying to Tucker last night, I say it to you too, I think the rest of us are way more cynical mofos than Charlie ever was. You know, we've been in the business a long time. We're pretty cynical. That's what happens to you when you're a news person. Charlie wasn't a news person. He was like a prophet in some ways who was speaking the good word while using those biblical principles to try to persuade people over to his political worldview. And it gave him like an optimism and a happiness and a joy and a benevolent kindness in dealing with these kids on college campuses that, frankly, the rest of us have probably lost a long time ago. At least I certainly have. And that leads me to my point in response to your second points. I don't believe there's any reforming these people. I don't believe there's any shaming these people. I don't believe reaching out across the aisle will do anything to improve things with these people. I think these people need to be defeated and we need to move on from them. You know, I don't want anything bad to happen to them, but the answer, as far as I can see, is to grow our own ranks. That's it. We have to drown out their voices. We have to answer their voices with our own. We have to grow more conservatives and independents who are sane and would never back political violence. There's so many people I detest on the left. I mean, it's a long list, whose death I would never dream of celebrating. Never. There's only one right response when somebody gets assassinated or murdered, and it's, my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for their family and their friends. What is the world coming to? And so there's no convincing them they've made an error or that we should all get along and they shouldn't celebrate our deaths. We just have to keep saying all the things that we've been saying and say it louder and more compellingly and do it from fortified spaces so that we cannot be hurt while doing it.
Yeah, you know, even as we were still poring over the horrific fallout from Charlie's murder, you saw the scenes outside the courtroom for Luigi Mangione, right? Who, for some bizarre reason, you know, having walked up to a guy he didn't know, a health executive, and assassinated him in cold blood. For some reason, he's become a hero to these people on the woke left, to the extent that when the terrorism charges were dropped against him, they were all out here doing this, celebrating, dancing in the streets. Like this was a joyous moment to be alive. Uncensored is supported by OneSkin, a self-care business founded by scientists. Their patented OS1 peptide is scientifically proven to target aging at the cellular level. It's what powers their skin and sun care products. Now it's targeting age-related hair loss and thinning too. OneSkin Scalp Serum, OS1 Hair, is getting rave reviews, as you can read for yourself. And it's not just talk. OneSkin scientists did a clinical study showing that after 6 months, participants had significantly thicker and denser hair. If you're ready to give OS1 Hair a try, you can get 15% off your first 3-month supply with the code PEERS at oneskin.co.
I'm sorry, but these people have Charlie Kirk's blood on their hands. They 100% have Charlie Kirk's blood on their hands, because this is what you get. When you celebrate political violence, you get more of it. What do you think this shooter, Charlie's shooter, thought was going to happen to him? He thought that he would become a hero amongst certain pockets on the left. And he has. Just go on Blue Sky. And that foments more political violence. I mean, there should be universal condemnation. Universal condemnation. Now the left is saying, oh, well, it's cancel culture to fire people who are celebrating Charlie's death. That's ridiculous. if you want to say you didn't believe Charlie was a good guy and you didn't believe in his messages, go for it. You shouldn't be fired from your job for that. But if you're celebrating the murder, the political assassination of anyone, you absolutely should be fired. Who in their right mind would continue employing you or want you to be around their clients or customers
Do you know what?
or fellow employees?
It's really interesting, Megan, you say that. I just had that very conversation with my team here, right, when we were prepping for today's show. And I said, I just done a podcast and I was like ruminating about how I'd responded to this. And I said, to me, the line is very clear, which is that free speech doesn't cover incitement to violence or acts of violence or anything to do with actual violence. And I'll come to what J.K. Rowling has said today about speech being violent and how absurd that is because of what it leads to. But I said, when it comes to free speech, though, it doesn't mean you're not accountable for things you then say, right?
That's right.
You could be protected from any legal ramifications against you by a government. That's why Pam Bondi was so insane to say what she said.
Correct.
Because she didn't seem to understand the law or the First Amendment. A little worrying with an attorney general, even as she's now tried to backtrack. But the reality is, if you're a doctor, a nurse, a professor at Harvard, if you're a teacher in a kindergarten school, whatever it may be, if you have a job like that and you are seen gleefully celebrating somebody's murder, then it is highly likely your employer will take a view that you are inappropriate for that position. And I said to my team, if one of you said this, honestly, if one of you reveled publicly on social media in somebody's murder like this, I said, I wouldn't want you here. And we all kind of agreed. Nobody would want that person there. But that's not an infringement of your free speech rights in terms of a government coming after you or the law. It's just accountability for what you say with employers.
And frankly, let me put it one step further. As somebody who used to practice law for 10 years, if you had someone on your staff who openly celebrated a political assassination and made the point that murder can be good depending on its aims and its intent, and you continued employing that person, and then they hurt somebody else on your staff who may have said something politically that they didn't like, you'd be sued. There'd be a good case against you for allowing it, for continuing to endanger the employees who work for you. There's every incentive to get rid of somebody who doesn't show basic humanity. That doesn't seem to be too much to ask. And again, that is to be distinguished from people who just say, I didn't like him. I don't believe you're saying the right legacy about Charlie. I'll fight you on whether he was good or bad. That's fine. That's quintessentially American. I think that's well within the bounds of appropriate speech, even in the wake of a tragic death like this. I don't like it. I don't think it's the right timing. I definitely did not think after Luigi Mangione killed Brian Thompson of United Healthcare, it was the time to debate whether our insurance companies are good or bad.
Right.
Maybe we can have that discussion, but you don't have that in response to the political violence, or you encourage more of it.
Correct.
But the loss of humanity is A, both fireable, and B, deeply troubling. And it's growing. And there were 2 recent surveys of our country and where people stand on whether political violence is ever justified. And one showed that 55% of liberals said it is, and one showed that 34% of liberals said it is. And both surveys showed very low single digits, like 7% of Republicans say sometimes it is. So this is a leftist problem. And the reason it remains a problem, I mean, there's many reasons why it's a problem, but the reason it remains a problem is the thing that you just showed, where the left, first of all, refused to accept, as we saw early on, first of all, it was Charlie Kirk who was shot. It was not some left-wing member of the squad. God forbid. I don't want anything to happen to them either. It was Charlie Kirk. It was very clear, Occam's razor, the likelihood of why this guy was killed. And then it came out what was on the bullet casings, which were very clearly leftist messages, which they refused to accept on the left-wing media. They tried to say he might have been a groyper, which is a far-right person who follows Nick Fuentes. That was obviously not true given what was written on these bullet casings. And the bullet casing that shot Charlie, from the bullet that shot Charlie, was notices bulges, OWO, which is a furry meme. And the furry culture is very closely linked to the trans culture. And many of us went out there and called a spade and said that's how this appears to be. The left melted down, can't possibly be. And then sure enough, what do we find out? That the shooter has a trans/furry, quote, boyfriend who's in the middle of transitioning from male to female, which, by the way, is not a thing, cannot be done, and is writing him love notes about there's too much hate coming out of Charlie, and he's fallen into left-wing ideology. And now the left messaging, instead of saying, okay, you were right, sorry, we're going to really have to take a look at our own messaging around these issues, says, what does it matter? Juliet Kayyem, what does it really matter what the motivation was? Maybe he was just some nutcase. And that's my final point. He wasn't a nutcase. I am totally open-minded to it was a nutcase. And you really can't ascribe too much to the particular motivations. I mean, at some level, everybody who takes another person's life in this fashion has to be a bit off. But this guy wasn't, Piers. He wasn't one of those guys, like take the guy who killed the poor Irina on the light rail train in North Carolina. Clearly that man is mentally deranged and may have had other motivations that were connected to his mental derangement. But this is not a sane person. It's very clear. The issue in that case is judges who wouldn't lock him up, knowing that he was insane, just turned him back out on the rest of us because they knew he was violent, a criminal, and insane. The issue here is there's no hint of insanity. This guy seems to have been very much together. This was truly a political assassination. And I heard Charles C.W. Cook of National Review say it beautifully, which was, you look back at why Reagan was killed by John Hinckley, shot by John Hinckley. He was a nutcase. He went to the mental asylum. He was doing it to impress Jodie Foster. That's not somebody who's moved by political rhetoric against Reagan. But look at who killed Martin Luther King. That was political violence. He was against the civil rights movement. He was a racist. Yes, the motivation does matter. The left would never dispute that if you held those two cases up. And this case seems pretty clear. We're dealing with a sane young man who was politically motivated to take down Charlie Kirk. How did he get there? What were the influences? Totally fair questions that need to be honestly answered.
100%. Just a final point before I let you go, Megan. I know you've got a busy day. The language that people have used on the left for so long about Trump and Trump supporters, Hitler, Nazis, fascists. When you see the anti-fascist insignia on the bullets, was one of the bullets, I've felt for a long time that if you keep using those analogies, those grotesque analogies about Trump and his supporters, then eventually people on the left who are slightly unhinged, who've been radicalized, they're going to think logically in their twisted way. They're going to think, well, if this is actually the new Hitler, if these really are the new Nazis, they represent an existential threat to America, I need to kill them. I mean, it's a logical way to look at it if you genuinely believe they are Hitler and the Nazis or the new fascists. And that's been my issue with that language for so long. And it's got to stop, hasn't it? Because I can see how a twisted mind hears that all the time and believes it.
Yes, and yet there will be no stopping them. If they didn't learn that lesson after Butler, they're not going to learn that lesson.
Right.
They really believe it. First of all, some collection of them really believes that Trump and his supporters are fascists and all white supremacists and Nazis. So they're not going to back off of it. They're committed to that rhetoric because they think it's truthful. And secondly, there is a part of them that is enjoying the political violence. You know, I mean, back to the polls I just referenced, there is an unhealthy faction on the left that would like to see more people on the right get killed, actually get killed. And honestly, you look at the difference between, right now, the left is bringing up the murder of this House Speaker in the state of Minnesota a few months ago. This terrible murder by a nutcase. This guy was nuts. Okay, it's back to the crazy people who are out there everywhere in the world. The difference between that murder and Charlie Kirk's murder is there wasn't a single solitary right-winger who celebrated that woman's death. And there wasn't a single solitary right-winger who demonized her as fascist or Nazi or pick your term prior to her death. She was the victim of a crazed madman who, if anything, said he was motivated by the Democratic governor, Tim Walz, and him telling him to get demons. But the point is, the reactions, both before and after the assassination, were markedly different. Just like on the hate speech comment by Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi got shamed out of her position yesterday by the right, because most of us on the right are consistent with our positioning. And when we heard her say such an asinine, inane thing, we clobbered one of our own. The left wing doesn't do that. And while I've received lots of nice messages from some more reasonable leftists in response to Charlie's assassination, and I do appreciate it, it's not enough to feel it privately. You have to police your own side. You have power over your lefties in a way I don't. So I can't fix it even if I want to. And I don't actually believe I think it's fool's gold to even try, but I'd love to see them give it an effort on the left.
Megan, it's great to have you. You're going out on tour for the first time with your brilliant show. I was booked to appear with you in Miami. Some people have said to me, because of all this, will I still be appearing with you in Miami? And the answer is yes, because frankly, to all those who want to intimidate people like us from not being able to express our honestly held opinions, fuck them. So I will see you in Miami.
Piers, you gave me the chills. I love you for saying that and for doing that. And yeah, come hell or high water, I will see you in Miami.
I look forward to it. Take care, Megan.
You too.
US national debt is more than $37 trillion. And these are uncertain times for the global economy. It's enough to make you think, maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold. Whether it's a hedge against inflation, peace of mind during global instability, or just sensible diversification, Birch Gold Group believes that every American should own physical gold. And they created something special. Until the 30th of September, if you're a first-time buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To start the process, request a free information kit now. Just text PIERS, P-I-E-R-S, to 989898. Make right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate of up to $10,000 when you buy before the end of September. Text my name, Piers, to 989898. Claim your eligibility and get your free information pack. Again, just text Piers to 989898. Well, joining me on the panel to discuss all this is Riley Gaines, the host of Gaines for Girls on Outkick.com, Gillian Michaels, host of Keeping It Real, Brian Shapiro, host of Pushing the Limits, and Lucas Bain, better known as the amazing Lucas. Okay, well, welcome to all of you. Brian Shapiro, I was sickened by what happened to Charlie Kirk. I think we can probably all agree, I hope we can all agree, it was sickening, although I had Destiny on the other night who couldn't bring himself to condemn it because Donald Trump hadn't said the right thing for him, which I think is a lamentable piece of moral cowardice. So let me just start by asking you, I presume you condemn and were horrified by what happened to Charlie Kirk.
Absolutely. I was on the air, Pierce, when it all happened. I got emotional. The first thing I thought about were his kids and his family. This is not only bad for Charlie Kirk, obviously, and bad for his family. It's bad for America. And I also feel for everybody that was traumatized, that was there that day, that had to see that. Now, with that being said, of course, I didn't agree with basically anything that Charlie Kirk stands for. But with that being said, anybody that's celebrating his death, I think that's despicable and it's disgusting. And I've called that out, and I've been very consistent on my opinions since day one. If there's one thing that me and Charlie Kirk certainly agreed on, it's civil discourse and having political debate. I enjoy doing this show, Pierce, and I enjoy having respectful discussions with people that I disagree with. So this is a horrible, horrible situation. We could never condone political violence, no matter what side of the aisle it comes from.
Why have so many people on the far left, the woke left, been so brazen in their gleeful celebration of what happened to Charlie Kirk?
Well, my response to that, number one, is I'm not on the far left, so I certainly don't speak for them, but there's people on both sides of the aisle. I know Republicans don't want to hear that, but there are crazy lunatics on both sides of the aisle that celebrate really horrible things that happen to people in America. I don't agree with them. And if you're on the far left or the far right, and you celebrate anybody getting murdered, then there's something wrong with you. And I don't feel bad for any of those people that were fired for celebrating his death. I think it's disgusting. Now, if you're just talking about him and saying, well, he wasn't a good guy, here's why I didn't like him, here are some of his quotes that he said in the past, I don't think you should be fired for that. I think there's a way to call out political violence and say Charlie Kirk didn't deserve this. I feel for his family, but I didn't like Charlie Kirk.
I've been pointed out to me that you've posted some messages about Charlie Kirk on your Instagram, which we're going to show here. One is a post that's a parody of a Jubilee debate. I'm doing one of these myself soon, titled Charlie Kirk versus Bullet. Can one bullet to the neck outsmart one conservative? Well, that was a short watch. Number two is a mocked up promotion poster called Kirk and Twerk at Neck of the Woods and hashtagged both Charlie Kirk and his widow. And the third was an image of a surprise a sunrise titled "God Works in Mysterious Ways" with the hashtag Charlie Kirk killing and praying hands as an emoji. And you're laughing as I show these. Why do you find this funny?
Well, let me just say that I actually am a big advocate for dark humor. And I happen to have gotten a bit of a taste of that over the last, I don't know, maybe decade or so when it came to the right and their memes of George Floyd. Happy birthday being sober for 5 years. When they came to their memes of Breonna Taylor, when it came to their memes of Trayvon Martin, the Trayvon challenge, right? When it came to their memes of Tamir Rice. So I don't know what the issue is. I think I'm engaging in the freedom of speech that the right has been advocating for these last 10 years and mocking and making light of Black death, something that Charlie Kirk himself did time and time again. As a matter of fact, I would argue that if Charlie Kirk, instead of focusing his time on Black culture and Black on Black crime, if he had spent a modicum of his time focusing on the white youth, that perhaps he would still be with us today.
Are you pleased he's dead?
No, absolutely not.
So how did you feel about his murder?
I don't think.
How did you feel about his murder?
How do I feel about his murder?
Yeah.
Well, I think a quote by a great author sums up the sentiment of millions of Americans around the world. And that is, some cause happiness wherever they go, others when they go. And I think that's a sentiment that is palpable amongst many Americans around the world due to the hate and vitriol and bile that Charlie Kirk sowed.
So
I think there was a
just to be clear, unless I misheard you, then you are happy he died.
No, I don't think as far as happiness is an emotion that
you literally just read me a quote which implies you're happy. You talked about some people's death bring happiness.
The purpose of the quote was to say that there are some people who have caused harm and death and turmoil to other groups of people, such as Charlie Kirk, whether it's Black people, whether it's, trans people.
No, I heard the quote.
The list
just to be
goes on.
clear, you said that the quote ends in that their death brings happiness, but you've denied that you were happy. But when you tell me a quote
I don't disagree.
When you tell me a quote like that, I presume from that quote you're implying that actually you are happy he died because he deserved it. He had it coming.
No, not at all. I don't think those are ever words that I've ever mentioned verbatim ever. I think there is a sentiment that when someone who lives their life in evil and wickedness, according to the scripture, the power of life and death is in your tongue. And the hate and the vile and the venom that he spewed, I don't know what to tell you. As the scripture says, as he professed, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. I think his focus should have been on a community that, clearly is in problem. That I find it interesting that there's more scrutiny on people who may make memes that they've done of George Floyd and other Black victims than on the white male youth that did this tragedy, as some would call it. I think
why would you be offended about the memes to people like George Floyd, which I found contemptible at the time, if they're the same ones that you're talking about? Why would you profess to be offended by those if you're quite happy to do the same kind of thing yourself?
I think the point that I'm making by the means that I'm putting out, which clearly has caused outrage and triggering, I find it a bit hypocritical that the people for years who said fuck your feelings are now overwhelmed with feelings at the moment. But the point that I was making was to point out the hypocrisy that the right has on a variety and myriad of issues, as we just saw with Pam Bondi on the freedom of speech. I think the issue is that they have scapegoated people like Pam Bondi for what is the crime of Donald Trump. The same thing they did with Anthony Fauci. We saw this when it came to the Second Amendment. They banned bump stock ban. They had a bump stock ban under Donald Trump while they were fear-mongering about Biden take away your guns. But as we saw, there was no outrage, there was no protest, and we come to find out that it was unconstitutional. So I think this hypocrisy is ubiquitous within the right, and I think my memes expose that hypocrisy.
And what about your own personal humanity? I mean, hashtagging his widow in a mocked-up promotion poster of Kirk and Twerk at Neck of the Woods. How do you justify targeting? Hang on. How do you justify targeting his widow?
I think that's a bit disingenuous to use such hyperbolic language as targeting. I think it's more of a strategic plan of attack to get the message out to more people. When we saw Erika KIRK, she had a moment to to speak for unity within the country, left and right. And she chose to fundraise. She then chose to use the scripture and talk, very nicely of her, past husband. And I understand that. But by that same token, there are people who were absolutely harmed by the rhetoric that Charlie Kirk put out. And that rhetoric actually codified in many cases in many states. So I think it's abhorrent and actually perverse to expect people who are harmed by his rhetoric, harmed by someone who had anti-Black, anyone who wasn't white and Christian in his perspective. I think it's perverse to try and criticize those people or try and make them seem as if they're the bad guys when that's
but you see,
not
funny
the
enough,
case.
I can look at what you've done and I can see somebody who is abhorrent and despicable and actually evil. Actually, the stuff when you target someone's widow as she grieves and
Once
tries
again,
to
I
protect
disagree
her
with the
two
word
children.
targeting.
No,
I think
I'm talking about me. I'm talking about me personally. My view of what you've done. I don't care about your motivation in terms of other people's inappropriate memes, many of which I may well agree with you about. But that doesn't mean that I then go and do it myself or worse, because that makes me even more inhuman and abhorrent, and by your definition,
I disagree. I think there's
evil.
a point,
I know you disagree.
I'm just telling you.
When it
comes to Republicans, when it comes to conservatives,
I know. Hang
that
on.
they have to see.
I've let you have your
I
say.
think I'm a mirror.
I've let you have your
what
say.
they have shown.
I'll let you have
and
your
if
say.
they don't like
I'm
what they
I'm
see,
telling
then
you.
they should actually
Fine.
detour
I'm
from
using
their
your
wicked
own.
path.
I'm using your own justification to tell you what I think of you and what you've done. Right? That's my free speech at work. Let me bring in Gillian
Absolutely
Michaels.
agree.
I mean, Gillian, look. I saw Brian there nodding to some of what he was hearing there, not all, to be clear, but nodding to some of it about the hypocrisy which Lucas claims he is exposing with this stuff. What is your view of what he's said? It's not just how the news is told, but what's left out, which concerns me. And when a friend in the business recommended I try ground news, I gave it a go. Quite honestly, I was impressed. It does something brilliant, which most news platforms are afraid to do. It's an app and a website that lines up coverage of the same story from across the spectrum, left, right, international, and lays it all out side by side. That kind of transparency is increasingly rare and is vital. Ground News helps you to dig in and find the facts by showing you who owns each outlet, what their bias is, and which stories are being buried. Has an especially revealing blind spot feed, which services stories being reported almost exclusively by only one side of the political divide. I want to hear every side before making up my mind. Ground News makes that possible and easy. It's independent, funded by subscribers and not corporate interests, just like my show. And it's a tool that puts the power back in your hands. Go to groundnews.com/peers to claim your 40% discount to the unlimited access Vantage plan and see what everyone else is missing. That's groundnews.com/peers.
I find this exceptionally sad because, Lucas, you talk about how hurt you were and how offended you were by such despicable things, and then you became the thing that you found the most repulsive, which is alarming, and as I mentioned, deeply saddening. I would be more than happy to litigate some of Charlie's positions for you. I abjectly...
I don't think I need any litigation from a woman who tried to downplay slavery, who tried to all lives matter slavery after she purchased a black child. That's what I would argue. I don't think you need to as far as litigate anything.
Would you like to discuss it?
Okay.
Because the reality of the situation is that what I gave you, whether you like it or not, is a fact from the 1860 census. And
it
the point
literally
is not to
downplay slavery. It is actually a bastardization of actual history. What you cited was inaccurate. You can actually look it up. I don't know if you did. I doubt you do your due diligence. You clearly did not, because in that study that you're citing, in the study that I'm discussing it right now, in the study that you're citing, it takes into account not only the slaves, it takes into account the northern states and the southern states. So to try and implement or to say this all lives matter when it comes to slavery, which is abhorrent and in extreme contradiction to American history, especially in this country as chattel slavery as Black Americans, is abhorrent and perverse, especially you, who is the mother of a Black child, who she purchased.
Right. Other people is my turn to talk?
You purchased.
Is it?
By all means.
How did I? Okay, well, I'm not quite sure what you mean by purchase. She's adopted, and it is illegal
to purchase a child. Did you pay to get that child?
No, I paid the adoption agency.
It was absolutely free.
Study.
It was absolutely
I
okay. So
paid
then
the
there was a
adoption
process of
agency
payment.
like you
So then there was a
paid to
process
adopt
of
a
payment.
child.
I
to
believe
an
that other
American
people adopt. You
adoption
purchase.
agency. Okay, you're wrong, and that's defamation.
I'm literally
It's
right
an
as you're
absolute
saying
lie,
that you
and
paid
it's-
to an adoption
You're
agency.
literally wrong, and it's this
I'm
kind
literally
of
correct.
hateful.
You know what you are? You know what you are,
I
Lucas?
think what's
let me
hateful
just
is you downplaying
hang on, let me
slavery.
jump in
That's
here.
what I
Be just as offensive as you want to be. You're now attacking people who adopt children, which is one of the most selfless things that any human being could do, actually.
This is literally what
But
the
you-
right did to Dave Rubin, is it not?
Fine, but what you're doing is just trying to be as offensive as possible whilst masquerading under this umbrella of, well, everybody else is offensive, so that's why I'm doing it, to expose
Not
all
at
the
all, and I think
hypocrisy.
if that's
But
what I'm
Gillian
giving
is
off, I
right.
apologize
Gillian is
sincerely.
right.
What
That
I'm
actually,
merely trying to
you have
do
descended.
is create a better
The
world.
way you've
What
just
I'm
gone
trying to
after
do is to
Gillian.
unify
You know what,
people.
Lucas?
The
Stop
only way we can
talking.
unify people
Stop
is for
talking.
people to understand the
Stop
harms that they've
talking.
done.
You have targeted Gillian for adopting a child. That is despicable. Let me bring in Riley
I
Gaines.
targeted Jillian for adopting a black child after she downplayed slavery, which I think is contradictory.
You attacked her for adopting a child.
I mean, let's not misconstrue my words that I'm saying.
Oh, I heard your words. Let me bring in. Let me bring in Riley.
You're
Riley.
misinterpreting
Let me bring in Riley Gaines here.
Sure, buddy.
Riley, you've been waiting patiently.
Great rebuttal, Jillian.
Okay, can you please let the others speak, please? Okay.
I wasn't actually allowed to talk, Lucas, but I'm more than happy actually to have you on my podcast.
That's because anything
and
comes out of your mouth is backlit.
we can discuss all of it.
All right, let me bring in Riley.
If you'd like to come on my podcast, I would be more than happy to give you a platform.
That's a different podcast for a different
More
time.
than willing to have discourse.
Okay,
just
you know
to
what?
honor Charlie Kirk.
If you're
to be
willing for
honest.
discourse, let Riley Gaines speak. Riley, what
Absolutely.
is your view of what you've been hearing?
I mean, honestly, like, it makes me feel tearful. Like, I have experienced all of the emotions over the past week. It has been, to the day, 7 days. I think initially starting with total shock and disbelief and honestly confusion. I've been so blessed in my life to not have been surrounded by death much in my family. I haven't lost really anyone close to me. Charlie was a friend, a mentor of mine. He's who ultimately I attribute to giving me my voice, the platform that I have. I attribute that to Turning Point USA, to Charlie Kirk. So to lose a friend like that, like I have gone through all the emotions, but to sit here today and listen to the discussions that we have seen, I think particularly from Lucas, whether it was about the memes that were posted, whether it was about Jillian adopting a black child. I mean, I am just like in total disbelief, disarray. How have we reached a point where these are the discussions that we're having and on a national stage here? Like, we have Democratic elected officials who are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, the best and most effective,
not true,
debater of our time.
All they do is lie.
Activist, really. I think debater is really downplaying.
That's not true.
Ultimately.
Here, she's lying.
Yes.
In what way?
What is the lie?
Name me one prominent.
there?
Name me one. Hey, Riley, name me one prominent Democrat that has celebrated the death. And I find it very interesting. You've made a living attacking transgenders. You've made millions of dollars across the country doing that.
I didn't
if
ask
you
for
truly
this.
care about, if you, I didn't
ask
listen.
for
I'm
the
sorry you
position
lost
I'm
your
in.
friend. Okay, hold on a second. Yes, in this case, you have. You've made millions of dollars profiting, going across the country. You've made a lot of money and you've made a name for yourself. Nobody knows who you are as a college swimmer unless you're attacking transgenders. Now, if you care about children, then why have you not criticized Donald Trump? If you care about children and women, then why have you not gone after Donald Trump for not bringing out the Epstein files? If you care about children, why don't you talk about gun control? I'm happy that transgender is out of that volleyball tournament, okay? But there's more important things that we should be talking about, and you've profited off of attacking transgenders with your hatred towards transgender people. Nobody knows who you are as a college swimmer. People know who you are because you go around the country attacking transgenders, Riley. That's who you are.
Actually, what she's done, Brian, very heroically, in my opinion, is she's gone around the country defending women's rights to fairness, equality, and safety. Something that I'm very surprised to hear that you, on the left, do not wholeheartedly endorse and agree with.
Pierce, let me respond to what you just said.
Sure.
If in fact Riley Gaines, by the way, Pierce, I've had this conversation on your show about transgenders.
Yeah.
I don't think transgender women should be competing with women on the playing field.
So you agree with her?
However, I do, but here's my problem with Riley.
What are you
she
talking
doesn't
about?
talk about Let me explain. She doesn't talk about the non-release of the Epstein files and real victims of sexual abuse. She doesn't criticize Donald Trump. She doesn't talk about how flags weren't at half-mast after children are massacred in schools.
Do you
she
talk about,
only
okay, let me
talks
ask
about
you.
transgender.
Let me ask you. Do you talk about...
It's so funny because
hang on,
you're acting like you followed everything that I've ever said on any topic ever.
Hang on, Riley. So, Brian, your position is that unless you talk out publicly about every single issue that is important in the world, then it disqualifies you from talking about the issue that you not only care about most because it happened to you, but you are passionate about because it protects women's rights. Is that your position?
Pierce, here's my position. You don't have to talk about every single issue, but when the second leading cause of death in children is gun violence, you probably should bring that up. When we talk about MAGA Republicans who have talked about the Epstein files and horrible abuse, Maxwell was one of the largest sex traffickers in the world. And the Donald Trump administration have sent her to a club.
Why does Riley Gaines have to do all that? Why does Riley Gaines...
Because she says she cares...
No, Riley Gaines cares
because she
about...
said, let me answer.
Riley Gaines cares because a very, very tall, muscular, powerful male called Leah Thomas said suddenly... who was a very moderate, unsuccessful male swimmer, suddenly said, I'm a woman, and then began destroying women in the women's pool. It was clearly grotesquely unfair, unequal, and actually dangerous. And we saw the same thing happen in a boxing ring in Paris in the Olympics.
Like to be able to
and for
speak
Riley,
for myself,
for Riley to be condemned by you,
that'd be super cool.
For Riley to be condemned by you because she doesn't also talk about other issues is absurd. Anyway,
first of all, that's not even
you know what? Critical. We'll come back to this. I'm just going to hold the panel here for a moment. A brief timeout. I've been joined by Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Nancy, welcome back to Uncensored. We're just having a kind of slightly insane debate, in my opinion. But there's a lot of insanity flying around at the moment. One of which is the utterly appalling spectacle of so many on the left openly, brazenly, proudly celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk. How have we got here as a society?
Well, it's insane. And you can just see in the previous debate, you saw two grown men, Democrat men, screaming, yelling on your program at two women. Riley Gaines is one of the brightest, smartest, youngest minds fighting for what she believes in. And we want to encourage that, not discourage it. I don't want to discourage anyone out there to prevent them from speaking up by getting yelled at. I was yelled out yesterday in front of Don Lemon at the steps of the Capitol, and all we want to do, I'm a rape survivor. All I want as a rape victim is to ensure that men aren't in my bathroom or Riley's bathroom or in the shower next to us. That is dangerous and it's uncalled for. But to see those men on your program yelling at the women who are just talking freely, talking in a sane and normal manner, trying to have a colloquy, trying to have a national conversation, and they're being screamed at. That's how we got here. And until the left and until the Democrat Party acknowledges their role in this, it's not going to get better. And I have to tell you, it's terrifying right now to be a conservative. I am carrying my 6-hour P365 everywhere I go. I have armed guards everywhere I go. I can't even go to the grocery store alone anymore. I can't even walk my dog without a gun because I have so many on the left, Democrats, a lot of transgenders who are emailing, calling, trying to show up at my office, threatening to kill me, my children, my family, my elderly parents, the father of my children. And I'm not going to live in fear. I'm not going to be terrified. And I'm going to figuratively fight back, figuratively push back and protect my safety. Today, I'm going to lead a floor debate against Ilhan Omar. Lucas was asking about a prominent Democrat celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk. They're everywhere. But let's start with Ilhan Omar, who's right down the hall from me right now. I'm in Congress at the Capitol, who celebrated the murder and political assassination of Charlie Kirk by saying that people who were mourning his death were full of shit, excuse my language, but no, and is posting content celebrating his murder, calling Charlie Kirk a terrorist. I can't even with these people because they just won't tell the truth. And like, I love having a debate. I love coming on and having a conversation, even when we disagree, Pierce. But there's never anything ill or negative or like, I don't want to bring harm on anybody, but we have to tell the truth. And how do you unite with people who refuse to tell the truth, who continue to lie? I don't know how you continue to have a conversation with these people. We have to shun them.
Do you have to be careful? You know, I watched Pam Bondi trying to explain that hate speech is something that the Attorney General believed should be pursued with the full force of the law. And I recoiled from that, as did many on the right, because actually the First Amendment protects hate speech. It doesn't protect incitement to violence or acts of violence, but you can say hateful things and be protected under the First Amendment. And it was pretty staggering to hear an Attorney General who didn't seem to realize that. Some have criticized you because you have a hotline. You've encouraged people to call in. And, you know, if people are saying bad things about Charlie Kirk and so on, you know, there will be people on the left going, well, this is just complete hypocrisy, because really what you're operating with this is a form of the very cancel culture that you and others on the right have always professed to hate. What do you say to that?
Well, this is a cancel culture, and I have voted and I've supported legislation that protects the freedom of speech, that protects the First Amendment. You know, I've been out there on the Epstein files too, protecting survivors, by the way. There are Republicans out there who are very vocal, like myself. But free speech has consequences. And I'll quote Ilhan Omar, who tweeted that you have the right to say anything you want. You have the right to those opinions, but there are consequences. And if you are around children, my particular focus is on the educational system, those that are teaching our kids or in the classroom, and those who are making healthcare decisions for people. I don't want the bias and those who are celebrating the murder of a political class, a political side that they don't agree with. They should not be making medical decisions for others, and they should not be indoctrinating our kids. We look at Tyler Robinson, 22-year-old kid who self-admittedly murdered Charlie Kirk because he didn't like his opinions and thought he was full of hate. They're condoning this. They're endorsing this. He was radicalized, we believe, at school and in the education system. We can't allow that. I mean, when I was growing up, teachers were just normal. You had no idea what their politics were. And now kids are forced to say, what are your pronouns? And can you define 100 genders? And, you know, they're being influenced and inspired and radicalized. And this can't be happening. This is how we got here. And we have to admit that this is the truth and that we're going to work together to end it. And they don't want to. They don't want to. And I don't know what else to do. I want to defund the schools that allow teachers that celebrate murder to stay there and stay employed. I want to defund them. And I want to shame these teachers out of existence. I don't want them anywhere near my kids. No. Or yours.
Nancy Mace, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you.
Let's go back to the panel. I mean, Brian Shapiro, did any of that give you pause for thought?
Well, first of all, I find it ironic that Nancy Mace is talking about telling the truth, yet she's the person who blamed the shooter in the Charlie Kirk murder as a transgender. I find that very ironic. She also called me a Democrat. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a registered independent that is anti-Donald Trump. So I want to be very clear on that as well. Listen, now she mentioned Ilhan Omar. If that's true about Ilhan Omar and she made those statements, I totally disavow that. But I don't think anybody could name me 3 Democrats that are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death that are elected officials. Number 2, every Democrat out there is saying this is wrong for the most part, political violence, we should never celebrate it. And all the right is doing is blaming it on the radical left, including Donald Trump. Nancy Mace wants to say to bring people together. Donald Trump has divided us by blaming the radical left for what took place here.
But you would be blaming. Okay, but Brian, be honest. If it was the other way around, and the investigators said publicly, as they have, as has the governor of Utah, that all the evidence pointed to this person being radicalized by the far right, you would not hesitate to say this was a far-right assassination, and you would go on a massive rant about it. So there's a double standard there, right?
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. I don't do that, Pierce. You could look at my social media. No, you're wrong. Here's what I do. I call out political violence on both sides. If you recall, Pierce,
that wasn't my point. No, hang on. I'm not disputing that. Yeah. I'm just saying if he was a radical right, if he'd been radicalized by the right, I don't think you would be saying people shouldn't be talking about the radicalization.
The reason why, Pierce, I ever bring up the radical right is because the right never takes responsibility, literally, for anything.
But nor is the left.
They blamed Donald Trump.
But nor is the left.
Listen,
the left, having said this for years, now is doing exactly the same thing. I saw Jimmy Kimmel literally I saw Jimmy Kimmel go on a rant saying this guy was a MAGA guy, the shooter. Complete lie.
Pierce, I'm always consistent on this issue. It doesn't matter whether it comes from the right or the left. It's wrong. We need to call out political violence on both sides of the aisle.
But we should also be unafraid to. Yeah, but Brian, you're missing my point. We should also be unafraid to call out radicalization where we see it as a primary motivation for these assassinations.
So do you think this shooter was a radical leftist?
I think this person was, as the investigators are saying.
That he used.
I'll come to you in a moment, Lucas. As the investigators are saying, and as the governor is saying, the governor has hit a very, in my view, sensible tone throughout all this. As they've all been saying, all the evidence is pointing to a young man who was radicalized to the left.
Okay, so let me respond to that real quickly. So first of all, even if that is true, I totally disagree with what Megyn Kelly said. If you're somebody who wants to kill somebody because you disagree with their beliefs, then there's something wrong with you. You are crazy. So Pierce, even if that was true, now we know he comes from a conservative Mormon family.
Yeah.
I don't really care what his political affiliation is. I'm grateful that his father, and a transgender, by the way, who two people on this panel continue to attack, there's a transgender that we should be thanking.
The two people on this panel haven't even got a chance to say a word yet. Because
just letting them talk.
All right, let me bring in the two women here. Let me bring in Jillian.
Who they are. We actually don't need
hang on,
to
don't all talk at once, please. Can the two men shut up for a moment? Jillian.
There are so many lies here. I don't know which to tackle first. The reality is that we are here because of the very things you guys are doing in this moment. You refuse to engage in any sort of intelligent dialogue or debate. You just name call. We're bigots. We're racist. This is exactly how we got here. This kind of othering, this kind of demonization. If you guys want to have...
Erika, one of the most alarming things about Charlie's murder was the way that some people in this country reacted to it.
Yeah.
And not just online. This was an idea that you encountered a lot. And the idea was this. They kind of justified it. They basically said that because Charlie said or believed things that they believed were controversial or even hateful, that he somehow had it coming. What do you say to people who justified his death?
You're sick. He's a human being. You think he deserved that? Tell that to my 3-year-old daughter. Excuse me. You want to watch in high res the video of my husband being murdered and laugh and say he deserves it? There's something very sick in your soul, and I pray that God saves you. I pray, because that is what is so wrong. The internet in this world has dehumanized us.
In the 3 months since Charlie Kirk was murdered, I've really tried not to comment on the murder investigation in public, and it's not because I don't. But I haven't said anything about it. I really tried not to say anything about it. First, because I don't really know anything that everyone else doesn't know. I've asked around, but of course, how do you know what the truth is? But the other reason I haven't said anything is because I know personally a number of the people involved in what's now become a very large story. I know them really well. And I really think a lot of all of them on every side. Candace Owens, I've known a long time. I love Candace Owens. Blake Neff at TPUSA once worked for me at a couple of different places, and I love Blake Neff. Erika KIRK, I've known since she was dating Charlie Kirk, and I love Erika KIRK. And I think these are all really, really decent people. And so it's been my desire for 3 months not to get involved in any of this. And in general, to think to myself, anybody who is earnestly searching for the truth, whether they're right or wrong, but as long as they're motivated by a desire to find out what happened and therefore honor Charlie's memory by getting to justice, anyone who's doing that, I'm not going to criticize. Again, no matter what track they're on, lots of us, and this has certainly happened to me, have good moments, but good motives, but wind up in the wrong place. But it's a sincere mistake. So that definitely happens. I have done that, and so I've just wanted to stay out. And then the other day, I had like a 3-hour conversation with Theo Vaughn, and it was not about Charlie Kirk or anything related to it, but that topic came up. And I said, in effect, I don't trust the FBI. And that gave some people the impression that I was, accusing them of being involved in Charlie's assassination. And of course I wasn't. And I certainly didn't mean to. But it gives me the chance now to say what I think, which is that we should not necessarily trust the FBI. And by the way, why would we? It's not an attack on, the political leadership of it. I've known Dan Bongino, for example, for a long time, and like Dan, and don't imagine he would ever be involved in intentionally covering up a murder of somebody. I don't believe that. But Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, for that matter, are at the top of the org chart, but this is a huge organization, and parts of it act independently from leadership. That's the nature of bureaucracy. So saying, well, I like Dan Bongino and don't think he would do something wrong on purpose, which is how I feel, doesn't mean that I trust the FBI or have to trust the FBI. And again, why would I? If there's one lesson of the last election, the 2024 election, it's that a lot of our biggest systems, our biggest institutions have rot in them, and that needs to be reformed. And as if we needed more proof of it, we'd learned what a lot of us suspected for years, that January 6th was in effect a setup, and the FBI was key to that setup. And it's still not clear that everyone involved in that setup at the FBI has been fired or punished for that. So no person, no American is under some moral obligation to believe everything the government tells you, particularly institutions or agencies that have a long documented, factually documented track record of committing crimes, participating illegally in our political system, for example, as the FBI has done, manufacturing crimes, setting people up, distorting justice. That's the opposite of their job, of course, which is to get to justice through facts and then to tell the rest of us how they arrived at this conclusion, to prove to the rest of us that the right people are being punished. So we're not under any obligation. Of course, we shouldn't invent theories to discredit the FBI, but it's not enough to have government officials tell us, well, this is the truth. We have a right, probably an obligation to say, well, can you prove it? And if you can't, I don't have to believe you. So if there's one thing that bothers me above all about the investigation into Charlie Kirk, is that is getting lost. As people argue over what happened, we are potentially letting our largest federal law enforcement agency off the hook. It is the job of the FBI to find out what happened and to tell the rest of us, not hide behind, well, it's national security, confidential sources. No, tell us what happened. Show us what happened. Convince us what happened. That's your job. And we shouldn't accept anything less. And by the way, when we do accept something less, then, new explanations fill the vacuum left by the FBI, which we pay to explain to us what happened. And so I'm going to really do my best not to talk about things I don't understand, state things as though I know them when I don't know them. I'm going to do my best to stay out of it because I love Charlie and I want justice to be done in this case. But the rest of us should remain skeptical. We have a duty to remain skeptical, and we should not be ashamed of our skepticism. Thanks.
With Erika KIRK sharing her journey with America and the world, we are grateful at Fox to have her here to shine a light on healing as we all miss and mourn the loss of her beloved Charlie Kirk. Not all of her journey has been without, well, hate, conspiracies, and oddly, speculation about where her husband is buried. Now, for the first time, Erika, who's with me now, addresses all of it from the perspective of a grieving widow, a mom, and a battle-tested American. Good to see you again today. Talk to me about this part of the conspiracies that are out there, this disturbing part that people are trying to guess where Charlie is.
Can I have one thing? Can I have one thing? Can my children have one thing? Everything was public. We will be building the most beautiful memorial for my husband at Turning Point USA, and it will be for the world to see, and it will be spectacular, and it will have basically museum style for our Charlie, for my Charlie. But can I have one thing? Can my babies have one thing where we hold it sacred, where my husband is laid to rest, where I don't have to be worried about some secular revolutionary coming and destroying my husband's grave while my daughter is sitting there praying? One thing. This is my husband. Yes, he was Charlie Kirk to the world, and I know so many people love my husband, and I am grateful for that, but this is my husband, and I want to be able to have one thing left that is sacred to our family, to my in-laws, to my babies, and to my parents. One thing.
What are they taking from you right now?
Nothing. But I will tell you what they are doing. It reminds me so much of chapter 6 in the book of Nehemiah. He is building a wall, and the townspeople are at the base of that hill saying, Nehemiah, calling him all these names, saying all these things, come on down. Every single time he had the same message 4 times in a row. I cannot come down. I am busy building. That is how I feel. I do not have time to address the noise. My silence does not mean that I am complacent. My silence does not mean that somehow Turning Point USA and all of the handpicked staff that loved my husband and my husband loved them is somehow in on it. We are busy building. And you know what I thought? I thought these people are human. We are all grieving in our own way. And they are trying to find the answer to something that happened that was so evil. They are trying so hard. And I get that. We're doing the same. Anytime we hear a lead or anytime we hear anything, we send it to the authorities. Please dig into this. No rock will be unturned. I want justice for my husband, for myself, for my family, more than anyone else out there. So for me, you want to keep telling me to come down while we're building? I don't have time for that. But here's my breaking point on that. Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole. Whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
You know, I have to say it, I've never seen you like this.
No, this is righteous anger because this is not okay. It's not healthy. This is a mind virus. Yes, I believe in our judicial system. I do. We have a hell of a team working on this, excuse my French. But this is not okay.
So you want to put these people back in the box where they've been creeping from?
I don't care what box you're in. But just know that your words are very powerful, and we are human. My team are not machines, and they're not robots. They are human. We have more death threats on our team and our side than I have ever seen. I have kidnapping threats. I have, you name it, we have it. And my poor team is exhausted, and every time they bring this back up, what are we supposed to do, relive that trauma all over again? They watched my husband get murdered. I have no idea how I would have reacted if I was there that day. And thank the good Lord that I did not have to see that happen. But my team, they are rocked to the core. So why every single day do they have to be dragged through the mud, analyzed, hyper-analyzed?
You know, the conspiracies that are out there, all of the like, do you think that there is more of it now because you do shine your light? I mean, did people just expect you would just go away?
I don't know what they expected. I don't know what they expected.
They pick on you because of your accessories. I mean, I've seen some of it.
Oh, yeah. No, at this point, it's what? The conspiracy collection. Get it before Christmas. Like, seriously. Wow. If you want to find and pick me apart, go right ahead. I do not care. I don't. This was happening before Charlie was murdered. Both of us have been through the ringer of people will call you whatever they want to call you. They will. But I have seen it firsthand impact the people that I love, and I'm done. I'm done. And if people think that I was just going to wilt away, I'm not going to sit in a corner and cry and be in fetal position. This is a duty to my husband, and it's an absolute honor, and I will never back down. And so my message to them is to stop. To stop.
And that's what we will say here on Outnumbered 2. God bless you. Hold up your book.
Stop in the name of God.
Amen.
Okay, you guys. Now, I wasn't sure about Erika. I was waiting, kind of a situation for her to be in, obviously, having lost her husband, becoming the CEO and the chairman of a company. It's just a lot of transition, and it's nice to wait for more information before you prejudge or just assume, make an assumption about somebody, and it maybe is not based in reality. Well, we are getting a lot more of Erika KIRK this week. I'll tell you that, because she has been doing the rounds in the media really over the last couple of weeks. And she just gave an interview live with Harris Faulkner on Fox News, where she finally addressed the quote unquote conspiracy theories. And I have to say this because it's true, but it completely missed the mark for me. I am sorry, it just has. But the good news is that she is now unmurkying the water in terms of her intentions with this massive political organization. That's good news, truly, because we knew Charlie, and now we are getting an opportunity to know Erika. Plus, later on in the show, it's Knives Out for Tucker Carlson. As always, he's trending right now because he has officially waded into the who killed Charlie KIRK narrative. And since he is not a bought and paid for Fed, he is siding with not just the American people worldwide. And he says that he's not buying the official narrative. And there are some lingering questions. And he confirms what I told you about the Egyptian planes. So let's jump right back into this. Welcome back to Candace. Look, I have been very patient. I do tend to focus on the evidence that's in front of us, obviously asking questions when we come up across something that someone has said and it doesn't add up, or if they lied, create a list. And you guys were coming after me because I was saying, look, we can write into our imaginations how Erika is thinking or how she's feeling or what she should be wearing, but she hasn't actually said anything yet, right? That was my stance. She hasn't actually said anything yet. Give her a chance, okay? And now she is making the rounds in the press because Charlie's book, his posthumous book, is coming out about the Sabbath, and she's speaking about the quote-unquote conspiracies as she sits down with a lot of these news anchors. So first and foremost, she's sitting down here with Harris Faulkner, and I just want to show you a couple of clips from this sit down, which is now trending. And she begins by addressing the question, which has been in the air, regarding where Charlie KIRK is buried. That question resurfaced this week in a big way because Milo Yiannopoulos and a few others have asserted with absolute certainty that Charlie has not yet been buried. That's what they're saying. They say they have proof of that. And at first, Harris Faulkner is asking about that claim. Take a listen.
Talk to me about this part of the conspiracies that are out there, this disturbing part that people are trying to guess where Charlie is.
Can I have one thing? Can I have one thing? Can my children have one thing? Everything was public. We will be building the most beautiful memorial for my husband at Turning Point USA, and it will be for the world to see, and it will be spectacular, and it will have basically museum style for our Charlie. for my Charlie. But can I have one thing? Can my babies have one thing where we hold it sacred, where my husband is laid to rest, where I don't have to be worried about some secular revolutionary coming and destroying my husband's grave while my daughter is sitting there praying? One thing. This is my husband. Yes, he was Charlie Kirk to the world, and I know so many people love my husband, and I am grateful for that, but this is my husband, and I want to be able to have one thing left that is sacred to our family, to my in-laws, to my babies, and to my parents. One thing.
Okay, so on its face, I actually agree with that. I think that when people are being buried and where they're being buried and how their funerals are done, that is very private matter, okay? So objectively, I agree with what she's saying, okay? But subjectively, because we are dealing with the subject of Erika KIRK and what transpired immediately following Charlie's assassination, this is going to be read as Meghan Markle syndrome, okay? Meghan Markle syndrome, where you want privacy when you want it, but you want publicity whenever you want it, and that just doesn't work, okay? It doesn't work that way. I honestly think it was said best by Bethany Frankel, not related to this situation. Bethany Frankel is on Real Housewives, a reality show. And she was referring to one of the housewives who lived her life very publicly, showcased her marriage, was buying tons of Louis Vuitton bags, and they had tons of money. And then when their relationship soured, the housewife basically asked the public for privacy. And Bethany was like, no, this isn't how it works. Like, we were riding with you on the way up, we're riding with you on the way out. You don't get to like pick and choose when you want privacy and when you don't want privacy. And subjectively, as it, in the matter of Erika KIRK, this is the same person who had somebody record her over Charlie Kirk's casket. That was not our business, truly. And I can say that decision was made by her. And there is, some credence to the claim that everybody grieves differently. I wouldn't even record myself over a casket ever, okay? Some people maybe perhaps want to have that memory. But the decision to publish that, you crying over your husband's casket, and to publish his dead body on Instagram was a decision that was made by Erika. And we can watch that. Take a look.
Oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. I know. I love you. I love you. I love you. God bless you.
That is an incredibly personal and an incredibly intimate moment that you invited the public into, okay? There was no reason to do that outside of wanting to share something that was very private with the public. And now you fast forward 3 months removed, and it's why does the public want to know where he's buried? It doesn't work like that. You have to make a decision. I want this always to be private, or I want this always to be public. That's my personal feedback there. Later on in this same interview, she launches into a strong defense of Turning Point USA employees who have, just as a matter of fact, told many lies, many inconsistencies. These are verifiable. So they are currently lying to the public, or they have lied to the public, but she is going to deliver quite an impassioned defense regarding these particular individuals and the organization as a whole. And I want you to hear her passion. Take a listen.
What are they taking from you right now?
Nothing. But I will tell you what they are doing. It reminds me so much of chapter 6 in the book of Nehemiah. He is building a wall, and the townspeople are at the base of that hill saying, Nehemiah, calling him all these names, saying all these things, come on down. Every single time he had the same message 4 times in a row. I cannot come down. I am busy building. That is how I feel. I do not have time to address the noise. My silence does not mean that I am complacent. My silence does not mean that somehow Turning Point USA and all of the handpicked staff that loved my husband and my husband loved them is somehow in on it. We are busy building. And you know what I thought? I thought these people are human. We are all grieving in our own way. And they are trying to find the answer to something that happened that was so evil. They are trying so hard. And I get that. We're doing the same. Anytime we hear a lead or anytime we hear anything, we send it to the authorities. please dig into this. No rock will be unturned. I want justice for my husband, for myself, for my family, more than anyone else out there. So for me, you want to keep telling me to come down while we're building? I don't have time for that. But here's my breaking point on that. Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
I'm sorry, but that whole thing right there is frustrating. And I'm going to explain to you why I just do not accept any of that. First and foremost, the idea that she does not have time. Okay, she definitely has time, okay? She's done Hannity, she's done The Five, she's done Fox and Friends, she's done Outnumbered, she's done Megyn Kelly Live, she sat down with the New York Times. She made time, by the way, in case you don't remember, to fly to DC for Sergio Gore to be sworn into the ambassador to India, as the ambassador to India, which feels kind of obscure and not necessarily related to Turning Point USA affairs, building affairs, or whatever it is. But sure, that's fine. I mean, obviously, you're also allowed to be a person if that's the homie and that's what you want to do, sure. But we are indeed speaking about a coast-to-coast flight to stand up next to somebody and basically say, Charlie loved you. That was like the whatever 15-second speech that she gave, right? Here's actually, we have a clip of that speech that she gave.
Well, he was also very good friends with a guy named Charlie. We just knew him as Charlie. And his wife, who we love so much, is here with us. And maybe, you know how close they were together. Maybe, Erika, you could say a couple of words, please.
Honored to, sir. Charlie loved you. It's hard not to get emotional because I know that he would have been the first phone call when he found out that you were going to be taking this position. And the way that I was able to witness the two of you work together for years and to champion and support the president was absolutely humbling to witness. And I am so proud of you. And Charlie is going to be with you every single day in spirit. And I will be praying for you every day because I know that this is just the beginning of an incredible opportunity for you. And sir, thank you for allowing Sergio to have this beautiful moment.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Joyce.
That's just an ambassador to India swearing in ceremony. Again, if that's your friend, you want to be there, that makes sense. She's also a person, and she can decide what she wants to do there. But the point that I am making is that's a coastal flight that she made to be there to watch a paper get signed. She has also made time for an upcoming CBS News town hall sit down with Bari Weiss, which was filmed today. So Erika KIRK has time. She has time. It is just what she means to say, not her priority, which is you are allowed to prioritize things in your own life. But this is not a matter of time constraint. It is not her priority to respond to the majority, actually. The majority of people think of this as BS. The majority of people think Turning Point is acting suspicious. And she does not feel that it is what she wants to do as a matter of priority, responding. Okay, that's fine. Now, to that point that people are making hundreds and thousands of dollars, I just don't get how there's not someone on this very large PR team as we're seeing these PR campaigns go out that doesn't go, hey, maybe we should strike that. They made $40 million like 2 nights ago at Mar-a-Lago. Maybe that feels kind of a little bit like let them eat cake-ish. Oh, and we've made more than separately from Mar-a-Lago. Turning Point USA, since Charlie was killed, just so you guys know, this is a fact, has made more than $100 million. That is separate from the $40 million they made at Mar-a-Lago the other night. So since Charlie has died, that organization has taken in $140 million. But gosh darn you people that are making hundreds of dollars every day on YouTube talking about Charlie Kirk's assassination and the BS narrative that is being fed and the very obvious psychological operation that is being employed to make you accept the BS that they are trying to sell to us. Gosh darn you. Did you make $1,000 today? Speaking about Charlie Kirk, Well, you should be ashamed of yourself, says Turning Point USA, who in large part made that money because of those very people who gave to the organization immediately following Charlie Kirk's assassination. And the thing that is especially absurd about that is trying to almost like, I want to be clear that Turning Point USA is my family. The Charlie Kirk show is my family. You know, like she's just expanding the wings of people that we're not allowed to critique because they're in the family. If you call them fam, you can't critique them, right? Oh, I'm sorry. We actually are showing a clip of Rob McCoy defending a pedophile or trying to launder the reputation of that's fam. That's the CK show fam. Oh, I'm sorry. We are actually pointing to the fact that we know for certain that this person in your organization is a sexual deviant. That's fam. That's don't you get me upset. I know that this is a now $150 million in the last 3-month organization and we employ tons of people, but you can't critique. You can't critique the fam. And I hate to say this, but I'm going to be very clear here. This is why there are many people who do not believe that women are equipped to lead companies, because what you are watching here is an unbelievably emotional response that is absent of any logic, okay? If you really care about your team, answer the questions, okay? Just demystify the entire event. Come out, sit down, answer the questions so people don't think Turning Point USA looks so suspicious. Don't try to mom the organization and say, well, mother's upset because people are coming after her kids and all of the multi-million-dollar subsidiaries. That's my children, okay? The multi-million-dollar subsidiaries, Turning Point, like Turning Point Action, all that, those are my kids, so you can't critique them. Not a good idea, okay? It may work in PR world. You guys, I know how it's an obvious PR campaign. It's never been more obvious of a psychological operation. I actually wish they would put me on payroll so I could help them make these things look more organic than having every single person that has been telling us to stop asking questions all make the exact same video within 4 seconds of each other being like, whoa, Erika KIRK shuts down the No, she didn't even respond to one of the conspiracies. She gave us emotion. She said, I'm a mother, I am a wife, and we never asked about whether she was mother or wife. We want to know if she is a CEO and a chairman. And a CEO and a chairman has to compartmentalize. A CEO and a chairman cannot respond to valid questions and critiques about finances, about shady actions that are being taken by people that require presidential pardons, people that are meaningfully asking why we are not getting a clear answer of what took place on September 10th. A CEO, okay, does not get to respond and say, that's my family. Okay, that's the energy of what I would expect from a mother speaking to a teacher, which I was this mom, that's my kid, okay? And I'll shut this down right now. That's my child. This is not a child. Turning Point USA is an organization, and Erika already had an uphill battle to climb, she had to climb this because, by the way, just because if this was Goldman Sachs, and the president of Goldman Sachs or a managing director over at Goldman Sachs died in a horrifically violent way, the Goldman Sachs family might mourn for a couple of months, but they would have instantly had someone to replace that individual. And beyond that, they would have never accepted the public and the people that are investing money. They would have never accepted, well, he's gone, but here's his wife. She already had a hill to climb here, right? This does not make you qualified because you love someone to take on their job. I am not qualified to do what my husband does. That's why I said I wouldn't want to be the CEO and the chairman of a company. Actually, there's a great clip of Jordan Peterson asking that very question, why do women want to be? Why would you want to have? It's actually a lot of work and it's very stressful and it's a lot of numbers and you're crunching numbers and you have to be everywhere, okay? If you want that, great. If you built the company and you're in the room like Charlie Kirk did, and you have proven to the public, hey, I built this company, I didn't even go to college, and I've been doing this for over a decade as Charlie Kirk did, you've earned that street cred, okay? So she already had a hill to climb because now they're saying, well, this is his wife, and so, that's it. Well, now you're gonna have to prove that you have the ability to be a CEO and a chairman and not just a a wife who we expect emotion from, and you're rightful in that capacity. You are rightful to have emotion. You are rightful to be the aggrieved widow, but you don't get to just be widowed into the position of chairman and CEO. You don't get to respond to, well, in this case, investors, donors who have given money and are asking meaningful questions with, no, you don't get replies right now because this is the Charlie Kirk show, fam. Doesn't work this way, okay? And the broader point removed from Erika, which a lot of these mockingbird influencers seem to be making, is essentially they're saying to us that scientific inquiry and investigation in and of itself is now patently wrong, right? Essentially, we should just trust the state. Don't believe your own instincts. Don't believe your own eyes. Don't ask any questions. And I really want to stress to you guys how utterly ridiculous that logic is, right? Because if we follow that logic in any other situation, there would never be a crime solved ever, okay? If we just ascribe to the idea that scientific investigation is on its face wrong, it would not work. I'll give you a crappy analogy here, but imagine if there's like some young mother and she dies suddenly in the middle of the night, presumably in the middle of the night, and her husband is the first one to report it in the morning, and the cops show up who happen to be his buddies. They get there, and then they dramatically close the case in 48 hours, and neighbors are like, wait a minute. Excuse me, officers. Actually, you might want to know some other facts here about this guy. Like, he's in the mafia. These people would be like, how dare you question the people closest to, he loved her, that's his wife. Being a gang member is not evidence. Why are you saying he's a gang member? It's not evidence. And you get another nosy neighbor who produces evidence that in the middle of the night before she died, they saw the guy outside, the husband outside, removing cameras in the front yard. That's not evidence. Yeah, but I saw him go out in the middle. He put something in his car in the trunk. He was looking shady. That's not evidence. How dare you find that to be suspicious? More nosy neighbors start discussing, and they were like, hey, we heard them. They were having actually a heated argument before she was found dead. I think it was about money. All of a sudden, the next thing you know, you got Allie Stuckey from the HOA. She blasts out an email, and she says, it's unbiblical. It's unbiblical to gossip. Hearing an argument is not hard evidence. You have no right to discuss it. Yeah, we're the nosy neighbors, okay? We put together a list of 20 verifiable lies that have been told in the weeks following this sudden death event. And we have some questions. So we're not going to accept Tim Pool jumping on the airwaves with big estrogen energy telling us we're evil because we have like school board elections next Thursday. We're the nosy neighbors. We don't care about the elections coming up. We want to know whether or not we are in bed with people who are capable of murder, people that are capable of covering up murders. Actually, we, the nosy neighbors, feel a little bit less safe in this neighborhood until we know whether or not there are some psychopathic killers in our midst. How about that? That's how I feel. I think that's how a lot of people feel right now. So I want to express that. And this psychological campaign filled with emotional manipulation and how dare you, and the aggrieved widow speaks, and so you're not allowed to question a $150 million organization. No, I reject it. I reject that 100%. Which is why I will say it has arrived as a blast of fresh air that on this very same day, Tucker Carlson is standing up to the nonsense. He's not speaking about Erika, obviously. He is friends with Erika. But just the nonsense of what the FBI is saying, he's wading in and saying, yeah, the FBI is not being clear in what happened. And I have questions because, and I think it feels like a blast of fresh air, because I know many people at home, are seeing all of these people that we followed and we thought that they were heroes. And suddenly this assassination has exposed them all to be frauds. Like for the right price, they will join Operation Mockingbird. For me personally, that is how I feel, okay? Like people in the military that I thought were forthright, people that were journalists that I thought were forthright. I just am so let down. And I don't think I would have been able to handle if Tucker Carlson was among those people. You need hard evidence. As if the killer's going to walk in and be like, okay, here's how I did it, okay? I'm going to give you the hard evidence. I was here, there. Like, what? Instead, Tucker Carlson is coming out and he is blasting the corporate and the Fed narrative with common sense. He joined Theo Vaughn, and here is what he had to say. Take a listen.
I don't understand the official story at all.
Of his assassination,
I don't understand it, and I want to make sure that there is a truly rigorous and honest federal investigation of it, and I'm definitely concerned about that. A, B, I think that I don't know many of the details, but I know that recently Candace said that Egyptian registered aircraft were following Erika KIRK, Charlie's widow, around for a number of years in different places in the world. That's one of the weirdest things I've ever heard, and I just want to say that is factually true. That's true. So that's like the one data point that I happen to know is true. What does that mean? I have literally no idea. I can't even guess, but that's very, very strange.
And what is Egyptian? It could mean aircraft from Egypt. Who knows?
I think that they were registered in Egypt.
Got it.
And but that fact is true. So and it also her claim that, there were kind of a disproportionately large number of foreign registered cell phones at the event. That's also true. So what does that add up to? I don't know, but it means that, the FBI has a moral and legal obligation to look in every direction and to be open-minded, as you would in any investigation, in journalism, in science. It's all the same process. I don't know the answer, and I'm going to sift through everything as open-mindedly as I can, as honestly as I can, to get to what the truth is. That's science, that's law enforcement, that's journalism. It's all the same. That's justice. And I just want to make sure that is happening, and I just don't have a ton of confidence in the FBI or the men who run it. And I'm not saying that out of ignorance at all.
That's a scary part too.
I'm not alleging anything. I'm just saying I think it's really important that we have that.
That is what authenticity sounds like, and that's what we're doing here. We are investigating, right? Sometimes you get something wrong, you correct it, but I was right about the Egyptian planes. And when you hear Tucker Carlson say that he is confirming that part is true, what I take from that, Tucker Carlson has been very clear. He grew up with CIA agents, okay? This is a guy who grew up in Virginia. His father, he learned after his father died, he thought he was just working with the CIA. No, his father was on the payroll of the CIA. So Tucker's friends are in the state. So you should take it as a concrete fact that there's something up with these Egyptian planes, and they were in fact following around Charlie, and they were following around Erika, as I told you. And that means people in the NSA, the CIA, are confirming that is real. And yet, just last week, what we got from Blake Neff, and I know he's untouchable, he's in the fam, but I'm going to go ahead and touch that and say, this is not okay, the vibe is not right, is making a mockery of it. That is what we mean when we say none of this is passing the vibe check with Turning Point USA. There's no clear answers. There's mockery, there's laughter, but there's no clear answers. And the mockery and the laughter is not working. Neither is this idea that, well, now the widow has spoken. We're not dealing with the widow. We want the CEO and the chairman of Turning Point USA to answer, okay? If you can't compartmentalize, then I don't see how you're going to be able to lead this organization in the future, because Charlie worked. We knew who Charlie was because he was authentic, okay? He didn't just go, well, I only make time for big pocket donors, okay? He was sitting college campuses. He was speaking to people, understanding people. He was changing his ideas, and he was changing minds. And you are not changing my mind about the fact that something weird happened that day and that TPUSA is acting funny because you give it an impassioned plea and speak about Nehemiah on Fox News, okay? None of it makes any sense. Anyways, Tucker then goes on and states the obvious predicament further, which is that we just don't have any faith in the government. Take a listen to him discussing some of these lingering questions.
Here's what I am concerned about. A lot of things. One, he acted alone. Tell me how that worked. None of us really act alone.
It's hard to go anywhere by yourself, too.
Thank you. Exactly. You acted totally alone. Okay. You're going to have to prove that to me? It's totally possible. Anything is possible. Weird things have happened. We'll continue to. But that's not my default assumption, and it shouldn't be yours. And their default assumption was we acted alone. Really? Why do you think that? What about life suggests that people typically act alone? When was the last time you acted alone in anything? I don't go, right? So A. B, we know that people had foreknowledge of this because they posted about it on X.
and said Charlie Kirk is going to be killed on this date, and he was.
Is that true?
Yes, it's true.
But were they just guessing? Was it a guessing thing where every day they posted that?
Maybe. Have those people been interviewed? Have they been hauled into FBI HQ and had a long conversation with how they knew that? Like, let's get really specific. Why did you post that? Who have you talked to? Like, if I were doing this investigation, because I spent my whole life doing non-criminal investigations called journalism, like, what do we know is true? How do we find out? Call everybody, be open-minded. It's like it's the same process. If I was doing this investigation, they would be at the very top of the list. Tell me how this guy who seemed normal became a radical trans furry murderer? It's not enough to tell me, oh, trans. I'm not pro-trans, by the way.
But was that the guy or his boyfriend?
Well, exactly right. Tell me how this guy became so radicalized that he murdered a stranger. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying I want an explanation for how it happened. Why wouldn't I?
I agree.
Oh, we can't talk about that because it'll prejudice the jury pool. Really, you've told the world that you have both a confession from him in his text to his boyfriend and the murder weapon with his fingerprints on it. I think you've got a pretty solid case. So why is it so difficult to just explain? So I have said from the beginning, if you don't like what Candace Owens is saying, why don't you call her and offer a more plausible explanation for what happened? Oh, she's bad. She's bad. Okay. I mean, I like her a lot. I don't think she's bad, but I love her actually. But let's just stipulate she's bad. But why wouldn't you do that?
Because I don't agree with some of the stuff that the rabbit hole she goes down, but I don't
even know.
But I like the fact that she likes to dig in the garden,
Theo, we are in this garden, okay? And we're not getting out of this garden with the Fed slop narrative. We're just not getting out of the garden with trying to emotionally manipulate us and say, it's not, this feels like COVID, right? It's not like COVID-19. It's like Candace 19. It's another fake, it's a fake virus. Like, oh, you got infected. You just can't do it. 6 feet social distancing from Candace Owens. We're going to get every influencer on social media. 6 feet social distancing. Save lives. What are you, a grandma killer? What, you just don't like him? What? And then Tim's all fired up. She's a C word. People are going to die if you don't get this vaccine. And I'm like, I feel like maybe the government's not telling us the truth. We're right back to that, but it's Candace 19. It's Candace 19. That's what it is. And they think that it maybe if they put the little 6 feet social distancing pads in the grocery store, that the PSYOP will win and make us believe that this is like common sense is the virus. I'm the common sense virus. It's coming around. It's so evil. Stay at home, wear a mask, save lives. You don't want to catch it. You don't want to catch the common sense, you guys. You don't want to catch it. Anyways, I dare. I'm sorry, I dare. And I have been very careful because I wasn't sure what direction she was going to go. If she was like, I was like, look, she's got a whole business that she's got to figure out. There's a lot of people in her ear. Maybe they did this transition too quickly and she's just keeping her head no, what she's saying is Turning Point USA is untouchable. And it's a no from me. But you know me. I'm just out here saying what needs to be said. We'll be right back after a brief message from our sponsors. All right, you guys, when they double down on abortion, we know that we have to double down on supporting life. Through our partnership with Preborn, we can help save babies and support mothers in need. Every day, Preborn's clinics rescue hundreds of babies because when a mother sees her baby on an ultrasound and hears that tiny heartbeat, her chance of choosing life doubles. And now, thanks to a generous match program, your gift can be doubled as well. That means twice as many ultrasounds, twice as many lives saved, and twice as many mothers that are given hope. They're also provided diapers, car seats, counseling, and care for up to 2 years. If you've heard about Preborn before and have not yet taken action, there is no better time than right now. Their work is some of the most important work to help heal our country. One ultrasound costs just $28, but you can, of course, give 10 times that amount if you're able to. Head to preborn.com/Candace to give. Again, that's preborn.com/Candace. Also reminding you guys about American financing, because what if you could delay your next 2 mortgage payments? That's right. Imagine putting that money instead back in your pocket and getting a little breathing room ahead of the holidays. Well, that's possible if you call American Financing today. If you're feeling stretched by everyday expenses, groceries, gas, the bills piling up, you should know that you're not alone, because most Americans are putting these expenses on credit cards. And credit card rates are insane right now, in the 20s, even the 30s. Well, American Financing can show you how to use your home's equity to pay off that debt with rates in the low 5s. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are helping homeowners just like you restructure their loans and save money every month, all without any upfront fees. Their customers save an average of $800 a month, which is like a $10,000 a year raise without having to change jobs. So call American Financing today. The number is 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800 and Candace. 1. Erika said she was pregnant when the Egyptian planes were flying and following her, so she wasn't on them. She said she has photo proof. Huh? I'm sorry. Did I ever accuse Erika of being on Egyptian planes? When I found the Egyptian planes, I was concerned that they were following Charlie because I thought, wow, has there been a foreign government that has been tracking his events? Like maybe, I don't know, like running through the operation early, and then we broadened it when someone clued us into the fact that actually these planes have been following Erika. You just heard Tucker Carlson confirm that. I thought she'd be concerned. Instead, she's gonna tell us on Saturday that she wasn't on the planes. I never said you were on the planes. Why would I think you were on the Egyptian planes? I don't think that you took off and went to Wilmington, Delaware. I know you didn't go to Wilmington, Delaware on the day of Charlie Kirk's assassination. I find that answer to be lacking. Okay? That is weird to me. It's a weird answer to give. And by the way, you can fly when you're pregnant. Even if you were on the Egyptian plane, that's a possibility when you're pregnant. So I don't understand that part at all. 2, when Barry asked her about the conspiracies and what she had to say to those saying them, Erika said, stop. No. 3, not about Candace, but she talked about Israel and said good things about Jews and how TPUSA is having Shabbat dinner. No, I didn't read that before we went live at AmFest. Okay. Okay. You guys, I want you to know, in addition to the fact that Charlie, in the last couple of days, wanted people to know that Mikey is fantastic and supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and he had this whole vision, and that Rob McCoy was his favorite pastor, and that you should buy Josh Hammer's book. He also wants you to know to just be a Jew. I think we get it. We get it. Those were his last words. Okay? We get it. Just like, okay. Anyways, moving on from that. I want to say to the 39 bajillion of you who are in the military who emailed us to let me know that I misspoke yesterday. Okay, I even said to you ahead of time, I said, I don't know military vernacular. I don't know these terms. It's like another language, and you guys are not aware of yourselves. Okay, so you critiqued me for saying E4, E3 when I should have said 06. I'm jotting down these notes. I'm having a conversation. I'm trying to fact check things. And for me, I was focusing on the timeline of where he was. I was like getting all of the proof from our military guy who was there for this meeting on September 9th and it's also on September 8th as well. And I misspeak, okay? Because you guys basically speak Japanese. You don't realize you do, but you do. You speak Japanese. And I said E4, E3, and I went back and I checked my notes, and actually he said 06s. Thank you. Thank you for your 26 billion emails to let me know that I don't know ish about the military, okay? It was a human error. I made it very clear that I am ignorant when it comes to the military. I will own that. And so please just be nice to me sometimes, where it's a lot of information, a lot of researching. And I just wanted to confirm he said he was where he said he was and take those notes. But no, he did not. He was very clear. I checked the notes that he has said 06. I think I made the mistake when I transferred my notes because he said colonels or captains. Then I Googled it and then I edited it thinking that maybe I heard him wrong. It was over a 1-hour phone call. Anyways, regarding him, for those of you guys that emailed us, I told you, you can trust that we are not just taking a thumbs up from someone. There's a lot of research that goes into all of these things, and we were able to confirm everything he said was real. He gave us his card that he swiped onto the base, and now, because you guys sent so many emails, and actually people who were on that base in Arizona, the Huachuca base in Arizona, adding further credence to his claim, is we've been able to since verify 2 more things from other people that are currently stationed there. First and foremost, I should tell you we have a positive ID on Captain Neff. He was not sure what Captain Neff's first name was. Stationed there. First and foremost, I should tell you we have a positive ID on Captain Neff. He was not sure what Captain Neff's first name was. It was, in fact, Adam Neff, and I'm sure captains have different names, but Adam Neff of the 10th Mountain Division is the individual. I sent picture options to him as your emails were coming in, and then someone said Adam Neff. I sent it, and he confirmed that that is the correct person. There were several, obviously, but Adam Neff was leading the interrogation of him. And it checks out because that is the division from New York. Also, we have now confirmed, and this is exciting because we got a lot of emails going, oh, like if this was really this like meeting, people wouldn't have known it was taking place. They would have used a empty building or something like that. Well, guess what? We have confirmed from people currently stationed on the base that JTF is indeed using a building. I'm not going to name the building. I know the exact one because I don't want to, accidentally violate national security. But effectively, they are borrowing a building. So it's effectively unmarked in that sense. And that building has been turned into, please forgive me if I get this wrong, but I'm reading it direct from the email, SCIF, which stands for a sensitive compartmented information facility, okay? So they have since added barbed wire around that facility for additional security. Cell phones and other electronics are not allowed. This is where he saw the meeting, by the way. Unless they are government issued, they are not allowed in that building. And it requires top clearance to be granted access into that building. Again, we have now verified this outside of this individual who was definitively telling the truth. He sent me so much documentation that it was like, I could have showed you everything. His old passport, his new passport, his military ID card, hotels, it's books, times, text messages, phone call logs with his wife. It just really is a circumstance that this man has either the worst or the best luck ever when it comes to him sort of stumbling upon military operations, right? First, he finds this cartel tunnel when he's 20. Now we fast forward, he's 56, and he just was getting some coffee, and someone's like, "Here, actually, yeah, no, that's the old boys are getting back together in this unmarked building," and he stumbles in there. It also, by the way, does provide an explanation for why they panicked when he just walked in there, because they were like, he should not have known that this building was here. They didn't buy his excuse. It's 7 hours later, they allowed him to leave, or Captain Neff allowed him to leave. Now, we can also give you some more information that gets really interesting, okay? Remember, Harry, who told me that seeing that many, I hope it's 06, is it 06? Do not email me, okay? He said it is not common unless, and he specifically said, there were some high-ranking congressional member or someone close to the president, like the vice president. Well, we received another tip that makes things especially compelling. So I'm going to just read you this email in its entirety. We have fact-checked it. It is true. Trust us to fact-check stuff, by the way, guys, we would not just randomly be like, thumbs up. We're just going to go with that. This person writes, I just wanted to bring to your attention that on September 8th, that's when he says that he saw some funny business, 2025, a U.S. government plane, a special air mission plane, caught my eye. This is what I found about that particular plane that is based out of Andrews Air Force Base, shown as Camp Springs below. U.S. Air Force C-37A Gulfstream Gulfstream 5 is a VIP jet. Part of a unit that caters to senior members of the executive branch and Congress. Plane number is 99-0404, as you'll see on the screenshot below. On September 7th, the plane flew from Andrews to Colorado Springs. On September 8th, it flew from Colorado Springs to Tucson. Then, 5 hours later, from Tucson, and then the transponder appears to be turned off. However, at 12:31 p.m. on September 9th, it flies from Fort Huachuca to El Paso, and then El Paso back to St. Andrews. Now, why is that interesting? Okay, because that means the timeline that he gave us is exactly right. This meeting took place early in the morning. I think it was 7:37 where all of this happened. And then he said he assumed it was like a high-ranking congressional person or somebody that potentially could be in the cabinet. This guy is saying that's what that plane is used for. And he also brings in El Paso. Remember, El Paso, Texas is where all those weird flights were coming from on the day of Charlie Kirk's assassination. So that is extremely compelling. And like I said, having spoken to this individual who is planning to come out and do podcasts and speak about that, he's trying to figure it out, which I'm going to help him with this weekend to figure out whose show he can go on and speak more. It's lining up. Like this is actually tracking. I had a sense when I spoke to him that his memory could be trusted. Okay. He was very forthright. He was very honest. I mean, he was so honest that he was like, when I said, oh, is it maybe this, Captain Neff? He was like, ma'am, like I don't want to give you any information that's wrong. I would put that at about maybe 60 to 65% that it could be this person, until I gave him the correct Neff. And he was like 100%, that's the guy that questioned me. So I trust him. And by the way, his heart exploded when I told him about all the emails of people that were in the military currently that were very moved by his story, people who have had the experience of doing the right thing in the military and being treated as though they did something wrong for doing their job and serving the American people. Everybody knows there's corruption everywhere, especially up atop. And to all the service members that sent those emails, I want you to know that he said he was close to tears, and he was just on his knees, him and his wife, just thanking God, because they never thought their story was ever going to come out about what happened to him when he was 20. And that is just something that is really, that's why I said there's so much God in this, because like he either has the best or worst luck, but he just happens to be in the wrong place at the right time, maybe in the right place at the wrong time. Who knows? History will tell us. Continuing the rest of that email from the person who gave us that tip about this plane, he concludes it by saying, this is the only time that I have noticed that this plane was in Fort Huachuca. If your contact that you mentioned yesterday saw this group of men in the morning, it could line up well with what this aircraft leaving at 11:43 a.m. on the 9th. From other searches I've done, it appears that Pam Bondi flew on this plane approximately 5 months ago from Tampa area back to D.C. I am looking into other flights. Please be safe and God bless. Guys, we have a clue. And we should keep going with that. I don't know. I when he contacted me, it was the way I told you. It went about me praying and then suddenly I get this email and I speak to him and he's like so credible and just gives everything. I think we need to keep prodding this narrative of what happened and what he said that he saw. And he described it as a meeting that when the operation is being finalized, a finalization meeting, and he seems like he knows what he's speaking about. So that's what I have for you guys today. Oh, wait, there's also something else about that plane. I got to bring in Mark to mansplain it. I'll just bring you on, Mark. I'm not even going to tee you up there. Just come on.
Thank you. Great introduction. So I was looking at the logs for that flight, and the flights in question are towards the center of the screen. You can see it goes from Tucson. The transponder goes dark. That's what that dash means there. But what really stood out to me were the call signs, which are basically the fourth column from the left. So you can see it's using RCH, which is reach. That's a standard Air Force call sign designator. But when someone important is on the plane, it switches their call sign to SAM, which stands, as you said, for Special Air Mission, which is typically reserved for people like the vice president, cabinet secretaries, senior officials of the executive branch, congressional delegations, and other senior political leaders. So what that tells me is the call sign from Tucson to Fort Huachuca is a standard reach. Everything before that is as well. But once it gets to Fort Huachuca and takes off, it switches to SAM. So that tells me they picked up someone of that stature in Fort Huachuca. And then just to avoid confusion, the Venus call sign is just when the plane is empty, it doesn't have anyone on it.
It's actually very, very helpful. And I think, like I said, there's something here. There is definitely something here. And I do believe that God put that man again. He has the worst luck. Our guy, Harry, has the worst luck down, or the best luck down in Fort Huachuca. But I'm certainly glad he was there. So you'll definitely be hearing from him directly. I would assume next week I'm going to help him figure things out. He's like, I don't know how to work these podcasts and, computers and how to get my message out there, we will definitely assist. We'll take a brief break and come back after some sponsors. All right, you guys, want to tell you about Pure Talk because as a consumer, you carry the success or the failure of businesses in the palm of your hand. Their success depends on your decision to spend money with them or their competitor. Well, my friends at Pure Talk would like to say thank you from the bottom of their hearts for choosing Pure Talk for your wireless needs. Because of you, they had a record-breaking year. Because of your generosity through their Roundup for Charity program, they've been able to donate over $500,000 to America's Warrior Partnership, who stands on the front lines preventing veteran suicide. Your patronage has allowed Pure Talk to donate 1,000 hand-sewn Made in America flags to your fellow veterans. And when you choose Pure Talk as your wireless provider, you choose to support American jobs. Like I said, as a consumer, you have the power to make or break companies. And with the money the big wireless guys throw around on advertising, you are inundated with offers everywhere you look. So from everyone in the Pure Talk family, thank you for your trust and God bless America. I also want to tell you guys about Purge Store because they tell you to fear the outside world, but the real danger can actually be happening inside your gut. I'm talking about parasites. These parasites can come in many different forms, microscopic parasites, there's fungus, worms. This isn't just a third world problem. You can contract parasites from your cats, dogs, from riding in an RV, or even from eating sushi. Right now, an estimated 4 billion people, more than half the planet, are unwilling hosts to parasites. 60 million Americans alone are suffering from parasites. Parasites suppress immunity. They cause some cancers, trigger autoimmune responses, and release toxins that fog your mind and drain your energy. So if you struggle with losing weight or you suffer from crippling fatigue, anxiety, brain fog, an uncontrollable sweet tooth, or chronic digestive issues, you more than likely could be suffering from a parasite. PurgeStore.com offers an organic yet potent all-natural formula that targets and kills parasites and aggressively flushes them from your system. Purge is not a synthetic drug. It is an herbal remedy that is safe yet powerful, and it can be taken daily to prevent future parasitic invasions. Right now, you can save 15% off at PurgeStore.com if you use promo code Candace at checkout. Purge Store will also gift you a free colon cleanse with a Purge subscription to help you dislodge and flush everything out of your system. That's promo code Candace at PurgeStore.com. Turning Point Faith, man, I love that it is so faithful. And, we're always talking about biblical characters, but nobody want to address Jesus. Remember, he was betrayed. The story might be relevant. We're going to be out here acting like it's a conspiracy. Yeah, it was a conspiracy when Judas betrayed him. And it was for money. Like, that might be a relevant narrative when you're out here, like, trying to make it seem like it's never happened in the history of the world. It has happened. And, yeah, I don't know. He was denied. He was denied, just as he said. So I want to just be clear that it is, of course, plausible. It is very plausible, is more than plausible, that when a company grows that size, there are people that become motivated by things that are not just truth and justice and things that feel sparkly and sprinkly and like make you feel good on the inside. Okay. The reality is life is ugly. Okay. Many people have to deal with deceit and dishonesty the bigger they get. And we heard that from Charlie's own mouth, what he was going through. Okay. I wouldn't have guessed his last words were effectively as if we're all getting the vibes here, like, just like go be a Jew. But I don't know. I feel like he was under pressure actually from a lot of his Jewish quote unquote friends. And there hasn't even been any honesty provided from Turning Point USA in that regard. It's like we're getting no honesty at all. And I'm wondering why, because this feels like a very poorly run PR show. Anyways, you guys, if you would like to support our independent work, you can head to CandaceOwens.com and buy some merch. I promise you we will get you Candace 19 merch because that's